Okay. I call to order this regular scheduled meeting of the 34th City Council for September 21st, 2023 at 7 p.m. Everyone in the audience, can you please silence your phones or communication devices as to not disturb the meeting? Mr. Clerk, can we have call the roll, please?
Yes, Councilmember Enos.
Here.
Councilmember Hamud.
Here.
Councilmember Abraham.
Here.
Councilmember Paris.
Here.
Councilmember El Sawafi.
Here.
Councilmember Herrick.
Here.
Council President Sereni.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, so then, at this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Councilman El Sawafi. Kamal El Sawafi.
Thank you, Council President. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce Pastor Dan Ramthan of Guardian Lutheran Church, who will give the invocation at tonight's meeting. Everyone who is able, please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. And I just want to read one verse before prayer. Romans 12:12 says, "Rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer." And we pray. Heavenly Father, we just pray your blessing upon this meeting. We are very thankful here in Dearborn for all our leaders and businesses and families and all those that make Dearborn a great place to live and have a family. And we just pray your blessings, guidance, wisdom upon all those in leadership positions. And we pray your blessing upon this meeting tonight. We pray this in the name of Jesus, our Savior. Amen.
Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. Okay, so Mr. Clerk, the next item is the public comment.
Yes, item 4 is public comments.
Okay, so we were going to begin with our 30 minutes of public comment. I know we have some cards. We have cards over here at the side, if you could fill them out. I am going to ask that everyone here that is, the 4 that I have are all regarding the item 12, regarding the rezoning of an area in West Dearborn. If I will hold those cards and call them in order when the item comes up, I will make sure everybody has ample time to speak. I don't think anybody's had any concern of not having their voices heard, and we will make sure that you will get to that. It is item 12, so we'll get to them once it gets there. Is there anybody that'd like to speak that's not regarding an item of business? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Hassanon?
Pass them out. Make sure the mayor gets one.
Number 12.
Over 11 months ago, last year, my name is Asana Young Public Actors. The guy that runs this city gave a statement regarding our children. Never came back and said, "I'm sorry." It's a shame when somebody wants to say diversity and put the LGBTQ community down our throat. It's unacceptable. You guys never apologized. The mayor never gave a statement. I waited 12 months, 11 months. Today, he brings Amal, and Amal was a part of the LGBT community, and they can be gay all they want. They can do whatever they want. But the thing that bothers me is the most is when the mayor sits there and says diversity. Diversity is something that's not shoved down my throat because I'm not a religious person. But my mother, my father, my sisters, my brothers, my aunts, my nieces are all religious people. I don't need gender bathrooms around me. I don't need to be a part of your Democrat program or anybody's program. And I'm saying, this is a statement on Facebook, and you have no part of any school board or any books of any kind for you to talk about this. You never apologize to the general public. You sit there and you tell me diversity. What is diversity? To bring Emma today to Salina School, you call that diversity? You hired 2 people from the Yemeni community after this situation, and you think we don't know about this? And then a guy calls me yesterday, Saeed, that works in this department, tries to silence me. Ain't nobody gonna silence me. I don't want nobody from your department to call me or say anything to me. I don't need nobody calling me. I don't want to talk to you guys, but I come here because this is my home. I pay taxes, you pay taxes, everybody pays taxes for your houses. My parents live here in Dearborn. You just came here brand new to this what's it called? And you come and you bring your agenda to Dearborn to put it down my throat and my family's throat, and you never gave an apology to nobody? You think you're untouchable? You're not untouchable.
You have
Nobody's
30
untouchable.
30 seconds, please.
Shame on you. That's all I have to say. Shame on you for putting the agenda down our throat.
Okay, anyone else from the public would like to address the council regarding city business? And again, we did have approximately 8 speakers regarding the zoning, which we'll take at the zoning time. Anyone else here to speak about city business? Ma'am, if you'd like to come forward. There is public comment cards, but you're more than welcome to come forward. Just state your name and address. There's a 3-minute.
Yeah, no
Time.
problem. My name is America Yahya. I work for Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib's office.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just here to talk about a little bit what we're doing. So I do have a few things to mention, and I also put in the magnets for, we have a right to breathe in the back over there for people who are interested. It helps with the, the pollutions and the pollutants. It helps with just knowing who to call and all sorts of information. Excuse me. A few things. We wanted to highlight a few things that the Congresswoman has been doing. She recently introduced the Restaurant Workers Bill of Rights, the water as a human right situation, a few other things as well with the child care investments now, with everything with child care is increasing, especially within this individual week, so it's good to highlight that. And a few other things. Tlaib to serve on the House of Oversight and Accountability Committee. That's actually very new. We'll be working with that, and you can, if you have any other questions on that, especially with residents, you can contact our legislative team or contact me, and I can help you figure that part out. And also that their PACT Act deadline is September 30th, so any veterans deployed to combat zones or anybody interested should be able to find information online or come to me and I can help you. And then free COVID tests that can be sent to your doorstep. That's also an opportunity that's coming up. So just wanted to highlight those. And other than that, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else here to address the city council regarding city business prior to we begin our agenda? Remember, there's also on each item, you're more than welcome to come and speak on the item. And then again, we have another public comment portion at that. Okay, hearing none, Mr. Clerk, we will move to the next, close the public comment and move to the next part.
All right, item number 5, resolution in need of offer and support, approving all the items on the consent agenda and requesting immediate effect.
All right.
Support.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had offered by Councilman Enos and supported by Councilman Hammoud. Before we move forward on this item, is there any council member that would like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Okay, so Mr. Clerk, we have an offer by Councilman Enos and support by Councilman Hammoud. May we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Enos?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammoud?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Paris?
Yes.
Councilmember El Sawafi?
Yes.
Councilmember Herrick?
Yes.
Council President Sereni?
Yes.
The motion is passed to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, next item.
We'll move to item 10,
Yes.
resolution by council members Paris and Herrick approving the minutes of the previous regular meeting of September 12th, 2023.
Okay, are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to these minutes? Okay, hearing none, a unanimous roll will be attached. Next item.
Item 11, ordinance number 23-1800, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of Dearborn by amending Article 33.00, Section 33.03, entitled Administrative Organization. Resolution by council members Abraham and Hammoud to take from the table for its final reading.
Okay, an unanimous roll will be attached to take from the table for its final reading. In 2014, an amendment to the zoning board ordinance was adopted that permitted the Planning Commission to authorize a special land use for a specific part of a building or structure that it is permitted use or a special land use, even in a different zoning district from that of which is the subject property, in accordance with the procedures set forth in Article 33. Based on deliberation at the August Planning Commission meeting, staff and commissioners are in agreement that while there is a benefit to having this provision, it allows additional flexibility in unique circumstances. This particular regulation is too broadly written. It is being recommended that the regulation be removed to ensure consistency with state statute, case law, and the intent of readdressing adaptive reuse as a component of revised PUD or planned unit development ordinances. This requires 2 readings by the council, and this is the second and final reading of this ordinance. Do we have any questions or comments from my colleagues? All right. Any questions from anyone in the audience? If you do have a question on a number, please stand up, and we will make sure we address it. Okay, Mr. Clerk, can we have the final reading?
This is the final reading of ordinance number 23-1800, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of Dearborn by amending Article 33.00, Section 33.03, entitled Administrative Organization.
Okay. Can we have roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Enos.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamud.
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Paris.
Yes.
Councilmember El Sawafi.
Yes.
Councilmember Herrick.
Yes.
Council President Sereni.
Yes.
7 yeas, the ordinance passes.
Okay, next item, Mr. Clerk.
Item 12, ordinance number 23-1801, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of Dearborn by amending Article 27.00, Section 27.01, 27.03, 27.04, 27.05, entitled West Downtown District. Resolution by council members Hamud and Enos to take from the table for its final reading.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Unanimous roll will be attached, take from the table for its final reading. The West Downtown District is an area of the city that is regulated by a form-based code, which was originally adopted in 2019. The proposed modifications include numerous changes to respond to feedback from members of the public as well as the council. Modification of the ordinances are being proposed to meet the following objectives: remove barriers and regulatory burdens for existing single-family homes, reduce economic and regulatory barriers for middle housing types, provide additional opportunities for fill-in and growth. The council and the mayor had several meetings and have heard multiple comments from residents and other stakeholders in the area. This is the second and final reading of this ordinance. So first, I would like to just open it up for my colleagues, and then we will go in the cards order. So on this item before us, do you have anybody have? Councilman Paris?
No, not at this time. Not yet.
Okay. Okay, all right, that's good. All right, so we will go to the cards on this item, and we have, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that one. Yeah. I don't know, 942, there's a phone number, 942.
Nancy Harmon.
Is that Harmon? I'm sorry.
She writes like we doctors.
doctor.
Like a
Yes,
doctor.
yes,
like,
okay,
quote,
Nancy,
unquote.
thank you. We've had you many times, I apologize.
That's okay.
It's a little too close to each other.
Okay.
All right.
My name's Nancy Harmon. I live at 22278 Morley Avenue. Once again, I thank you for the changes that you brought forward on this from the nuclear version that came to us first. I appreciate that. But there's some questions that haven't been answered yet. With the map that was incomplete online, if somebody was just looking at this, they would have no idea what the zoning is east of Oakwood. And the next city council may not know the resistance to rezoning that we have brought forward to this, and they might just go with the colors, but we don't know what the colors are, how it ended up, because it's not showing online. The next city council may not have the same desire to save the museum as Council President Sereni and Councilman Abraham and Councilman Herrick have brought forward. So they might not know our resistance to saving this area. So I think the public should have access to the accurate map that will determine how our neighborhood's going to look. There's also still the outstanding question not answered. How does the setbacks deal with single-family homes versus condos? They're both residences. but it only says single-family homes. And there's condos in there, and there's condos along Garrison that are affected. And with that, there's an ongoing current condo and single-family residential that's backing up to commercial with a barrier that has been going on since at least 1992, but they've been working on it since April, trying to get an agreement between the business and the residential person, and the city just can't break through and follow the ordinance. So that should be fixed. And if we can't figure out that simple thing that's with the present ordinance, how can we know that this next ordinance is going to work, that we can trust it? Just saying. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Director Torti, if you don't mind just coming up, because I know we're going to have some questions for you. I appreciate it, just so you're up here. Okay, and next we have Maureen Stanton.
Hello, Maureen Stanton, 22362 Morley Avenue. And today I am here in support of the proposed West Downtown ordinance changes. I look forward to a more vibrant, dense, sustainable downtown urban area. I look forward to more residences to welcome new neighbors. I look forward to diverse business areas where entrepreneurs can be successful and where new neighbors can find jobs. For residential areas and business districts to coexist in the same few blocks, careful planning with all stakeholders is required. I very much appreciate the time the city planners have taken to hear concerns of the neighborhood, but more so the willingness to adapt and work together to come up with this current draft ordinance. However, good ideas and promises only go so far, especially when city government has a credibility problem. What good will these carefully crafted protections do? Because in our experience, enforcement by city inspectors and boards is arbitrary and inconsistent. In practice, it doesn't really matter what the code says. My latest example has been the so far unsuccessful ordeal of getting the city to enforce either Articles 5 or 6 of the existing zoning ordinance, which specifies requirements for an obscuring wall or fence on lots with commercial use abutting residential. I've been given the runaround for 2.5 months with the city. At this point, I have tried reaching out to the business directly and was told they would allow me to bring a hammer onto their property to fix the issue myself. I've talked with inspectors and been told that what I was reading directly from the ordinances they are supposed to enforce was brand new information. I've been threatened with citations. I've escalated the issue and have been told that the legal department asked economic development and city planners to look at the matter carefully. Finally, yesterday, and only after I made it known that I would be bringing this to council's attention, I got a response that did not even address the full ordinance and was self-contradictory. I've had many conversations with neighbors along this journey, sharing my view of how our neighborhood can grow in exciting ways with the zoning updates and under the city's supervision. But how can I continue telling neighbors to trust that the city will enforce protections like screening residences from commercial areas when the existing screening ordinances are ignored? I urge council to postpone approving these new zoning ordinances until the administration can demonstrate their willingness to enforce ordinances that you have already passed.
Thank you. Okay. Helena. Thornton. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Helena Thornton, and I live at 23731 Marshall Street. I just came to provide to you guys a couple pieces of information that I found. First, regarding, there's 5 pages in this 3-page staple thing. The first is strictly to show in 2009, Dearborn was among the development of a watershed master plan, which, and this is with respect to Brady Street, mind you, Alliance of Rouge Communities, so Dearborn was on that list. An amazing story to read these documents. hundreds of millions of dollars, okay, were invested over 60 years, and immense progress was made. To keep sustainability, this particular part of the plan was published in 2012, and it talks about, what the role of the public, right, to continue to become educated about the Rouge River. But the government piece was really nice. Local government partner resolution for the Rouge River watershed management plan. I don't know if Dearborn specifically, signed that and sent it in, but I'm going to find out. But it is a very nice partnership that was recommended as part of the sustainability. Now, none of us have anything to do with the fact that there's concrete there on Brady, other side of the museum property. But the fact is, it matters. And the kids in Toledo cannot drink their water. Just last month, I got a text that said, don't put your boat in the water. I was going to put my dinghy in the Detroit River. It had rained, okay? So all it's saying is we have an opportunity to reduce concrete at the edge of the river, and we should do it. That's really what it's saying. As people that are members of the Rouge River watershed, that's our, it's our stewardship, okay? On the last, by the way, the Rouge River is still an area of a concern, okay? It's still an area of a concern, even all those hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent. The very last page, I just wanted to point out regarding the other zoning issue that, and this is from the master plan, 2014, Michigan's Municipal Planning Act, calls out that master plan be revisited every 5 years.
You have 30 seconds.
If you go on to read it, it does say that those things and the information we do, the data we collect, and the changes we make have to be directly tied to a specific objective in that master plan. That's what it says.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Mike Hamilton.
Good evening. My name is Mike Hamilton. I live at 21500 Garrison Street, and I'm the president of the Stanford Place Condo Association. And I appreciate once again you're giving us the opportunity to speak on this topic. In reviewing the proposed rezoning document, I did find some issues that seemed concerning. One on page 25, and that's page 25 of the agenda posted online. It's section 27.01A, purpose, then item 2. And it says, provide community stakeholders a reasonable expectation of how the district will look and function in the future. Okay, I personally can say I don't have that expectation based on everything we talked about. And I'm pretty sure all of the residents don't have that either. We have some guidelines of what can and can't be built, but we never had a rendering of what this could look like. That was requested at a MARA meeting, and the mayor said it couldn't be done. So we don't really have this expectation of what it would look like. So I would recommend we either delete that line item or delay the approval of this until we resolve that issue. Next is page 28, item F1D, which says parking shall comply with the standards of section 2707. Okay, I believe right now Garrison Street does not comply. So, and that would not improve if we build more businesses and residences in that area. So again, I'd recommend either deleting this line item or delaying approval of this rezoning plan until that's resolved. And then finally, regarding the Brady Street rezoning, Mr. Serini, you made it clear there was no plans to build anything on that parking lot. And the question was raised, then why are we bothering to rezone it? And I would request that we actually get an answer to that question right now, because there are plenty of other properties, like the Andy Almo's property and other properties that are already zoned for this. And I would prefer that we use up other properties already zoned for this type of construction before we zoom in on this property on Brady Street. So I would like to know why we are bothering to rezone it if we're not planning to build anything on it. So,
Well,
thank you.
Mr. Hamilton, you could stay there, so, because you addressed me specifically. I do live on Brady Street, so I do have an interest in this as far as, I'm down a mile, but regarding the Brady Street, I disagree with the way you characterize it. First of all, it's a parking lot right now. Second, since I've been here, in 14 or 15, the state of Michigan gave the city of Dearborn what they call a yellow light for redevelopment. So a yellow light for redevelopment means that they have to go for between, if someone wants to build anything, they have to go between 3 and 4 variances in order to build it. So what people do when they see that, they skip over and they don't invest. Now, what I believe my role is on the council and the role of the government, we're not builders. I don't believe we should be in the private sector. But what we're supposed to do is, an analogy, as we had a conversation beforehand with one or two of my colleagues, is what they call set the table. So we are supposed to rezone things so that it makes it feasible for something to be done in those areas. So when you ask why, what I said to you is that there is, first of all, the city owns the property, which is a totally different ballgame. What that means is we can sell it at any conditions we want, if we want to. And we don't have to sell it at all. But I know you've made comments on, other people have been saying other things in the administration. The bottom line is it has to go through the city. But if you're asking me why we're doing it, is because it's a parking lot there, and it went through the planning, it went through the process, and by rezoning it, it allows developers to come and say, okay, I could put a few condominiums or condos just like they have across the street, so on and so forth. So that's the reason why, when you say why are we doing it, because the government is supposed to make these things ready for development, not we wait for someone to come and then try to figure it out. So that's just the way it works. And we haven't done a very good job on it. The form-based code that I mentioned before has been changed about 5 times since I've been here, and it was only introduced in 2019. And you know who was the driver of changing those? Ford Motor Company. They came and asked us to change it. So how many people that don't have the wherewithal, the lawyers, and the so on and so forth to do that don't come? See, I'm a big believer that people just are not going to complain. They'll go somewhere else. So it's the job of the government to set the table for development and for growth in the city. And as I've mentioned many times throughout this ordeal, Ford Motor Company, when they hire engineers and give them packets, do not include the city of Dearborn for them to live in. They're not even on, we're not on the list. We're nowhere there. You look, it's nobody there. We're not there. We're not a region. No, but you asked me why, and I'm telling you why.
Yes.
I think that we have to modify to today's standards. Look, I'll be honest with you. I told somebody today, okay, I like to keep my home. I like to do things in my home. The younger people today that are engineering and stuff, they don't do things to their houses. They don't want to have houses. They want to have a different style of living. That's up to them, but we have to conform in order to attract those people. We're the hometown of Ford Motor Company, and when they hire somebody, they give them a packet that doesn't have our city as one to live in. So that is a concern. These are things that we're doing to address housing that we need for that segment of people that are looking for condominium and style or home style where very low maintenance aspects. So I hope that answers your question.
It is an answer. As far as the Ford packet, I hired into Ford in 1989 at the age of 30. I had 3 engineering degrees. I didn't need the company to tell me how to find a place to live. I moved in. I moved here from Central Ohio. I was unfamiliar with the area.
Well, I'm glad you came from Ohio. But the fact of the matter is, they do provide it. Maybe you didn't need to listen to it. They do provide it. Are you saying that that's not true, what I stated, that they
No,
have?
I'm saying somebody with a technical education.
Right, I know. What you're saying is that somebody,
shouldn't
right.
be told.
What you're saying is they can make their own mind up. I don't
Yes,
disagree with you.
yes.
But the fact that we're the hometown and we're not listed is a concern for me. Maybe not for you. It is for me. That's all I'm saying. You asked me for one of the rationales, and I just want you to know. But I don't disagree. You're more than capable to find your own path. I do agree with that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming and being active on this. I do appreciate it. All right, thank you. We're going to continue on the cards. So if you want to add a comment to anything, please fill out another card and we will get to you. Mr. Chris Puffer.
Chris Buffer, 724 South Brady. As we approach the vote on the generational sweeping rezoning plan tonight, it might be helpful to review the process as we arrive here this evening. As a resident of the Morley Area Residents Association, also known as MARA, I became involved very early as I was invited to attend a preliminary meeting held by the city's planning department, hosted by Ms. Cayley. It was at that meeting that we as residents were introduced to the plan, were given the opportunity to ask questions. Having never attended a city planning meeting, I found myself at a bit of a loss, but nonetheless asked two basic questions. First, if the rezoning is passed, how many new units do you anticipate adding to the neighborhood? Second, where could we, as residents, see similar developments within the neighborhood context that have been overseen by the planners? No answers were forthcoming to either of these questions. In fact, I've asked the same question at just about every single meeting, and I haven't even been given a range of how many units would be built. And this is inconceivable considering that the planning department is led by people with urban planning professionals. Since that meeting, with the exception of Thursday's meeting of the whole, I've been at every single meeting as well as others. As you're all aware, attendance at the initial planning meeting got out of hand. The initial planning meeting was really something. It was the largest attended meeting in my understanding, as well as the Mara Association meeting was our largest attended meeting in history, with a lot of people opposing this rezoning, okay? Around the same time that Mara held its annual meeting, we were told that parking was not on the table. It just simply was not something to be done. So myself and some colleagues generated a parking proposal that indicated that on the south side of Garrison, currently, with the restaurants that are in place, we are now nearly 400, exactly 396 parking spaces short of what would be there if we were to comply with current building code because of the parking. I want to call it amnesty, it's parking exemption. That entire area is under exemption. I've talked about this ad nauseum. I don't know why it has not been addressed. What the exemption says is that while no parking is specifically required for residential developments within the public parking sector, new projects are encouraged to supply parking if it is feasible for their anticipated demand. In my mind, the key word here is encouraged. My doctor encourages me to keep away from ice cream, but at times I kind of break that rule. You know, the failure of previous administrations to address the parking issue has resulted in congestion on lots. If anyone's tried to pick something up at Nachos next to the Mint, you know what I'm talking about. That is the disaster that's waiting around the corner, because on the north side of Garrison, the proposal that we put in front of you indicated that there could be as many as 308 units built on the north side of Garrison.
You have 30 seconds?
If that is left to happen without any parking requirement, we're in for big trouble. We are in for big trouble. So I propose that right now, as much as we want to go vertical, there are other options to go vertical in Dearborn. How about Village Plaza? How about the Hyatt? How about the North Kroger? How about the building? How about the lot at the corner of Military and Michigan Avenue? There are lots of opportunities to go vertical. I'm not opposed to vertical. I'm not opposed to development. I love restaurants. I love nice neighborhoods. But to focus on the north side of Garrison, where there are currently single-family homes, is just, it's not common. It's
Your
not
time
common
has
in any other
expired.
neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Puffer. Appreciate that. Kevin Green?
Sorry, I'm still limping, Councilman.
That's okay. Take your time.
Kevin Green, 830 South Brady. As I said at the Committee of the Whole, my issues really are two in number. One is the parking, which Chris has already described. It is not opposition to development of the block between Mason and, or I'm sorry, between Howard and Military. It is how are you going to account for the vehicles that will be required. The other issue that I have, and I spoke with Councilman Hammoud before the meeting, is Brady. And I'm sure Mr. Twardy will be able to correct me on this if I'm wrong, but what's currently posted on the agenda says urban general for the museum property. I believe that is a mistake because the text says urban mixed, but the what is posted online says urban general with the colors, and I believe that that is a mistake, but you've now put a notice out to the public that says this will be urban general. That is something I strongly oppose. At least urban mixed is closer to acceptable. I think really it should be mixed residential or, better yet, a conservation easement. But the concern with Brady is.
Mr. Green, I just want to pause you just for a minute.
Sure.
Mr. Clerk, will you just pause it? So I know, Mr. Torty, that part of the map was cut off on Thursday.
Yes.
So has that been
We
corrected?
did send updated maps, and just to clarify, it is indeed urban mixed for along Brady. So there is existing portions of urban general that are on Michigan Avenue that we are not touching. The only proposed change relating to the museum property is urban mixed.
Okay, and so I just wanted to clarify because
No,
what
I
is
appreciate
online
that. Yeah,
does
it was
say
cut
urban
off.
general.
Yeah, no, we seen that it was cut off, so I appreciate it. So you may continue. I just wanted to clear that up.
Okay.
To make sure. Thank you, sir.
All right.
You can continue.
And then, so the other thing, besides the impact on the Rouge watershed, which is something that all of us are concerned with, is the traffic. Traffic on Brady remains, I see the chief is here, the chief has been doing what he can, but it is a terrible problem on Brady. Mr. Serini, Councilman President Serini, you know, you're one of the cars that's driving up and down Brady because you have to go to your house. I live on Brady, I experience it all the time. More development is only going to make a bad problem worse. So please consider whatever you do. Thank you for the urban mixed. I think that is a step in the right direction, better than urban general. But I think that whole area needs a lot of thought and a lot of study before it's developed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Appreciate that. Ms. Meredith Jock? Did I pronounce that right? Did I pronounce that properly?
It's good enough.
All right, thank you.
All right, hi, everybody. I think you guys all know where I stand. I've been here a couple of times. I just heard, a bunch of people say tonight, a step in the right direction, we're moving in the right direction, but we're not there. And I feel like why force it at this point? Why not continue talking about it? My main concern right now is different than everybody else's because I still am concerned about that 40-foot setback. And I have a question, and I hope it doesn't take up my 3 minutes here, but will my home, and I don't know if this is a question for council or for him, will my home and the 24 other single-family residents on the south side of Morley, are they going to comply with the regulations for RA one-family residential district as outlined in sections 29.02 and 2.05 after this is done? Because that's the only, in my reading, that's the only thing that the 40-foot setback will apply to. Nancy, it's not going to apply to anything else. Only if your home will comply with what the ordinance says as a detached single-family home, and there's a definition in there added in that red box. This is all added. This is not in the original ordinance. So why are you adding the definition in here now? Does anybody have an answer?
We'll answer so we don't take your time if you'd like to continue, Madam
Okay.
Clerk. Regarding the
Well-
single-family home, I got it.
I'm just wondering if you have an answer, because I want to reply to it if you do have an answer.
I'll give you time to reply.
Okay. And then, so that's my main thing with that. And then, Councilman Cerny, I heard you say you're a big believer that people won't complain and they'll just go somewhere else.
Right.
And with this, you're going to push so many good people out of this neighborhood with these changes. Why are you putting the future potential employees of Ford, who may or may not want to live in Dearborn, whether or not you shove it in their little pamphlet, over the people who already live here? Why are their interests more important than ours?
I will answer you. I just want to make sure you have your time, so I'll answer that.
That's really all I have to say.
Okay.
I've said what I had to say, but
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about this 40-foot setback
Yeah.
not applying in a consistent manner, because I live, the big brown house, I don't even know what it is, but it's a multifamily residence, and it is not a single-family residence, so we share a corner. So if I'm reading this ordinance correctly, the 40-foot setback will not apply to that. It will only apply if your home will comply with the RA1 residential.
Right.
As defined. And you guys, in your justification memo for making this change, my home doesn't comply and neither do any of the other homes, which is why the justification memo says none of these homes are legal conforming. So will this ordinance change that?
Okay, well, we're gonna
But
get
where
there.
does it say that it will change it?
Yeah, we're gonna
Because
get
I
to
have
that.
emailed numerous council members, and my
I haven't
concern right now is
received
that
an
the
email. I
40-foot
know.
setback will not apply to any home moving forward if
Okay,
they don't
We're
comply.
gonna ask that question, but before I get to that question, when you asked about, choosing the residents over the Ford and something like
Yeah.
that, no, that's not what I think I made it very clear that the state of Michigan indicated that we have a yellow light. I'm not sure, I think you work for the state or no?
I do not.
Okay, well, the state of Michigan is indicating to us that we're not business-friendly, that we're not allowing for development. So what I meant by that is not we're choosing one over the other, just so we can make it clear. I asked this on the other day, I think that was the day you weren't here, I'm not sure, but we asked exactly some of the questions that you have, but I just want to clarify for the residents. First of all, this council currently right now, so let's talk about if we do nothing. They can build right up to the lot line and the front. Let's talk on the front. We're not talking about sides because we have people talking about sides. The front of the house, they can build right up to it. This council is asking them to have a 10-foot setback. That's in the ordinance right now, so I just want to make sure you know that. And that came from a resident that gave us a beautiful picture of a recently done building that helped us visualize it a lot better.
10 is fine in the front.
No, I know. But it's like a nuclear thing, right? We could stop 90%, but one gets through and people are still upset. We have to go through it all, but I want to talk about where, because you made a statement is that I'm choosing people that are not here over people that are here. I disagree with that because my reading of this ordinance is that we're enhancing it for you. So I want to go through that first. So currently, if we do nothing, they can build right up to the street. Now we're making them build 10 feet back. If anybody has a different understanding, please shout it out to me, on the council only, not from the audience. The back, currently, they have no buffer, no fence, no green zone, and it's 20 feet. Mr. Torti, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. This change is now making it 40 feet and 10 feet of that 40 a green zone and a fencing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I just want to make sure we're all here. So when people make statements like that allude that we're choosing one over the other, I don't think anybody's math can come up that that's worse than what it was. That's first. But your question that I want to answer regarding the RA and that none of the homes are conforming, is that what you indicated?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Twardy, can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, so as the ordinance is right now, all those single-family homes, like the ordinance designation that you have right now that covers your property doesn't allow construction of new single-family homes. So what that means is,
I'm asking if our house is conform.
I'm getting to that answer, if
Yeah.
I may. Thank you very much.
Mary,
So
if you don't mind, let him finish.
Okay.
So
basically, what that means is for homes that already exist, making any changes requires what I would characterize as a huge regulatory burden in terms of the substantial number of variances that would be required in order for you to make modifications to your home. So we had, and forgive me, within the last year, we had a home that had, I think it was like 8 variances that was trying to do some rehab, trying to do an addition. I don't remember the exact scope, but that was the general gist. They needed all those variances. What this is going to do, so yes, new homes are gonna have those setback requirements when and construction that abuts a single-family home, an existing single-family home, will have the increased setbacks that the council president talked about. Really quickly, I'm getting to the point. So what this is gonna mean is these changes will now mean that your homes will actually be existing non-conforming in those zones. I know this is like a lot of technical jargon, but basically the net of what these changes are gonna do is you're not gonna have to get all these variances to make additions to your home. So I guess
My question is, will our homes, because you said existing non-conforming, will our homes comply
I have
with
to say
section?
something. because
Councilman
I think
Abraham
we're
wanted to speak.
confusing.
I think he's gonna shed some light on it.
You live
I'll
on
give
a
you time.
street that is not part of this rezoning. I just want that to be clear when you keep asking the question, will this ordinance make
But
your, let me
this
finish.
home backs up. This is talking about the abutting homes,
Meredith, I
which
don't-
is the defining my
Excuse me,
home.
ma'am, we're gonna let him answer. I'm trying to get some light for you to get you the answer.
We
Let
are-
him answer.
I'm not getting the answers, though.
Okay, well, you don't gotta let him finish.
Okay.
Councilman Abraham.
This ordinance, the rezoning that's in front of us, proposed rezoning,
Yes.
does not affect the conformity of your home on Morley whatsoever. It is not let me finish. It is not changing anything on Morley Street. I just want to be clear because a lot of comments have been made over the last 3 weeks about the rezoning and how it's going to make single-family homes on Morley not conform, and that is absolutely false information. I don't know where you got it from, but it's 100% false and wrong. Number one. Number two, the facts are the facts. I think Council President did a nice job laying out some of the dimensions and the characteristics. A lot of the comments I've heard here, I take exception to because they seem to spear or incentivize fear. They're almost like we're trying to make people afraid of what could happen. And I wish we would spend the time trying to understand in reality what's going to happen. I drove by your house. You have a beautiful lot. None of this is going to change one thing, what you can do on your house and what you can't do tomorrow. I just want to make that clear because people have made a lot of comments about, I heard all the single-family homes on the north side of Garrison. I think there's 2 homes on the north side of Garrison that are owner-occupied between Military and Howard.
Right.
And 2 might be a stretch. There might only be 1. So when people talk about forcing people out of their single-family homes on Garrison, we really need to understand what you're saying because it's 1 or 2 homes and nobody's being forced out of their home.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand that it doesn't affect my home directly, but this ordinance discusses that that if you're, in order to get that 40-foot setback, your home must comply with those regulations. And you just said, yes, it does. Look at the little box. Detached family homes, right here, this little red box, do you have it?
Yes, I do.
Is defined as must comply with the regulations for RA one-family residential district as outlined in sections 2902 and 205. Am I
Okay.
reading this incorrectly?
Okay, we're going to get the answer. So now, give me a minute. Mr. Torti, can you address that issue?
I want to pull up that box just to be sure, but I believe that's referring to new construction. So the whole point, I think Councilman Abraham said it correctly, is for existing homes, the circumstances won't change. It'll reduce the variance burden for those who want to make improvements to those homes.
Right.
But the setbacks that we're talking about are new developments that would come in that abut those single-family homes. This is about requiring them to have a greater setback to those homes.
Okay. Ms. Jacques, do you have something else to?
I'm not reading it that way. It says that in order for the 40-foot setback to apply, it must be a single detached home.
Okay.
Is that correct? A
Mr.
single
Ford.
detached residential home?
Yes, okay, yes, that is accurate.
And then later on in the ordinance, you define the single detached residential home as must complying with the 29.02 and whatever other ordinance that is. Is
Yes,
that it? Then,
for properties that abut single-family homes, that setback will apply. Yes.
and that single-family home has to comply with those regulations.
If an existing single-family home doesn't comply with those right now, they are existing non-conforming. If
Yeah,
they
they're
are
up to
single-family residential, you'll still have to do the setback. The whole point of how this was put together, and anybody can check me on this, but the whole point of how this was put together is for those existing single-family residences, anything new would have to conform to that setback.
Right.
So if an existing single-family home doesn't perfectly comply with RA, that is irrelevant. You will still have to have, if you are a new development that is abutting one of those homes, you as that new development will have to comply with that setback.
Mr. Torti, I
Councilman
think I'm
Abraham?
going to interpret the question because now I think I understand what she's saying. The question that I hear now is that if a new development is going in on Garrison, mixed use, 42 feet, whatever it is, will the rear setback be 40 feet if the residential single-family home behind that development on Morley is not in compliance with the current setback codes for residential?
The answer would be yes.
Okay, Ms. Jacques, I
Is that-
believe that's
is that a
exactly
fair-
what you're asking. Does that make sense?
It's not in compliance with the original setbacks, but it's in compliance with the regulations, those 29.02 and the other ones. If the home is not in compliance with it, will the
You're talking
40-foot
about the
setback
rear,
apply?
let's be clear, because I think this is the confusion. We have new construction and you have behind it an existing home. That's what you're talking about, correct?
Right.
The existing home is RA, right? Residential zoning RA.
Yeah, it's a home. It's a home.
So it doesn't matter what condition that lot is in, that construction, that structure is in. The existing home is irrelevant. The fact that it's RA zoning, anything in the new construction on Morley will have a 40-foot setback.
That's right.
Anything.
Is that correct, Mr. Torre?
That's correct.
Okay, Ms. Jacques, I think that's what you were trying to ask.
I
Is
mean,
that, well, let's
I'm
get
not sure
to.
I'm fully understanding what the
Ms.
logic here.
Jacques,
We may
it's
be
very
talking
simple.
past each
If you
other,
have, but hold on, he just explained it to you. We're not gonna go around in a circle. You asked if there's a current home. You indicated as if the current home, because it was non-conformity, would not, that the new development would not have to comply. That's not accurate.
Well,
And
I
it's
just
been
think the
stated.
ordinance as written is open to interpretation, and my fear is that if, you, like somebody else said, that if the council has this interpretation now, that it may not be that way in the
Ms.
future.
Jacques, we're not gonna do an inference on an inference on an inference, okay? This meeting is public and televised. There's notes on it. It's very clear what was said here, and I think if you know, any lawyer that's half the worth of what they were, would be able to show that this is what is not the intent. An intent is brought forward in many instances in statutory aspects of the state legislature, everywhere. It's very clear. That question you asked was answered, so do you have another question at this point?
At this point, no, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman El Swafi, thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Juna, help me understand this a little bit better. So will all new developments, based on the zoning changes that we're proposing now, will have to put a 40-foot setback?
If they abut a single-family home, absolutely, yes.
What about condos?
So my understanding is it would be single-family homes. For all their uses, it would be 20 feet.
Yeah.
So the condos will have 40 or 20?
My understanding is written to be 20.
20, yeah. Yeah, and how many condos are there now?
So I think they're,
Just so everybody's on the same page, this is an existing parcel right now.
right.
On Morley. This
Right.
would be abutting the Morley property.
Right. How many other condos are on Morley abutting Garrison?
I don't remember the count off the top of my head. I apologize,
Okay,
but it's.
well, we need to know that, because I think it's 0, but I want to make sure.
No, there's some on Morley.
I thought it was on the other side of the
But-
street.
But, well, I guess if I could, I'm sorry,
Yes, no,
Councilman.
no, Councilman, no, we
Just
appreciate it.
to reiterate what you started earlier, that doesn't change anything. It's 20 feet now.
It is 20 feet now, I
With
know.
no green
That's-
space
that's
and
what
no
I said.
screening. So the fact that it's not changing, nothing is changing for development adjacent to condos, except we're adding 3-foot height to the building. And a 10-foot green buffer and a 10-foot setback in the front.
Right.
So it seems to me the condo owners are no worse off tomorrow
Than they
if
were
this
today.
gets adopted than they are today. In fact, I would argue they're probably better off with a mandatory, I think they'd still have mandatory 10 feet of green. So I think they'd be better
They'd be
off.
better off, I agree. And that's why we want to clarify all this stuff, so I do appreciate it. Mr. Doherty, thanks for staying up there. Of course. We do have another 4 or 5 speakers, so. Sure. Just hang out there. So we have Myron?
Does the council need a break?
No, you're fine.
No, we're good.
Myron Lameka, and I live at 5.5 West Lane. Thank you for letting me address you and Mayor Hammoud.
Thank you.
I did send out an email that I won't read in its entirety, but hopefully you had a chance to read it. I'll try to summarize that for the benefit of the audience, as well as just add a closing comment. To maximize the cultural and economic value to the city of Dearborn, please do not rezone the parcel of land east of Brady that encompasses the Rouge Gateway entrance, which is shown in this figure that your email has, and entrance to urban mix. This area should be excluded from the broader Garrison Street rezoning proposal for a number of reasons. One of Dearborn's greatest treasures is over 250 acres of extraordinary urban green space right in the center of the city. And that's figure 2 for those that have received the email and have seen it. It's filled with an abundance of wildlife, natural habitats, 2 rivers, a lake, numerous trails, bike paths that connects Dearborn Ford Field Park with the University of Michigan and the Henry Ford Community College campuses, as well as Edward Hines Park and the city's commercial and residential areas. This priceless landscape exists today because our original forefathers, Henry Ford and Edward Hines, among others, and every past Dearborn City Council had the wisdom to forego short-term real estate economic gains in lieu of the greater good for the long-term enjoyment of Dearborn future generations. And the tremendous value keeping it like that brings in setting Dearborn apart from all other surrounding communities. Regarding the parcel of land east of Brady that encompasses the Rouge Gateway entrance and so, et cetera, I call on the intelligence and wisdom of Dearborn Council and the mayor to, one, exclude this parcel of land from the Garrison Street rezoning proposal. It's totally different. Look at the map, drive by it. Maintain the city of Dearborn control of this unique, priceless property. Convert this land to something other than the traditional development.
You have 30 seconds.
Upgrade the landscape, etc. By including the plot of city-owned property in the Brady Street, Michigan Avenue, the overall Garrison rezoning process is like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. There's no denying this is plot of land which overlooks the urban green space to the north and is immediately adjacent to the lower Rouge River. It's very unique compared to the rest of the Garrison Street rezoning properties west of Brady. It should be voted on as a separate entity for future use.
Your time has expired.
Can I just have a little bit more? Do I have?
This is the one we received already.
No, I have a comment that you have not seen.
Okay, okay.
Can I have a minute?
Also, if you're gonna let me tell you, if not, then you can have a seat. So you sent us an email, we had it, we have a time limit for everyone. So if you sent us this email already, we received it, and you're also here giving us the exact same information you gave us last week on Thursday, is that correct?
I have one unique.
Okay, say one, you go ahead and take your time to say that little portion, because we have to move to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you. To make a decision today on rezoning the land east of Brady, south of Michigan Avenue, the City Council needs data. The data includes environmental impact study, and most importantly, a study of how this land would be of greatest value to the citizens of Dearborn, rather than a few profiteers. Should this unique, pristine property be made into a gateway to the green space and a center city attraction with parks that include a nature center and museum that exalt Dearborn's rich history and diverse culture for the benefit of thousands? Or should we put up high-rise density housing on this land, which is unlike any other in Dearborn, when such housing can be built countless places? Or would another strip mall or more restaurants be the right thing to do? The Dearborn Council has the responsibility to look at this land from both historic and future perspective, separate from the Garrison rezoning west of Brady.
Okay, thank you, Myron. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you for the same thing. Thank you.
Council President?
Mayor, yes.
I'm trying to make just a few remarks.
Okay.
And thank you for the image, I got the email. So the entrance for the trailway off of Brady, as well as the trailway itself, are all Wayne County easements. So none of that can go away. That's all protected. I want to be very clear about that. That can never be developed. It can never be deleted. That's all currently protected and will remain protected for the entirety of its lifetime, God willing. What we're talking about really is like the parking lot, the offices, and so on and so forth. Currently, the offices and the museum are non-conforming and not permissible on that property line. With the new zoning, they'd actually become conforming. And so that's one of the other elements of this. So that's one element. Two, the museum is deed restricted. The museum will always be a museum. That land is deed restricted. At any point, the city even tries to tamper with it, we lose complete operational ownership of that parcel. So the museum will also always be protected. I want to be very clear about that. And lastly, just from a checks and balances perspective, this is city parcel. So at any point in time, if the city goes for sale on any portion of this land, the city has to view, and the city council has to take a vote, and the public will be made informed of what developer actually came forward, what the project actually is, and the backstop is the city council on top of that matter. And so we have a safety net in place. This brings the current office and such into conformity and out of non-conformity, and the gateway entrance will always be protected, as well as the museum. I just want to be on the record about that. I think I'm a public health professional by trade. We're doing a number of initiatives as it pertains to stormwater retention and the protection of our green spaces. The only thing I'll add is like, parking lots are actually doing nothing for this green space. It's complete water runoff, and this parking lot has zero water retention underground currently. And so I think it can be put to far better use in the future. And again, council has ultimate authority and say in that. But I just want to also be very clear about why we do this. It's because this is currently non-conforming. We just also, like, technically the offices are not permitted on this parcel. And so for me, it's also updating the zoning permits the offices also on this parcel. I think that's also important to put out there.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. All right, next we have Mr. Ray Alcadre.
Rail Cadre, 21916 Wildwood, Dearborn. Yeah, I had some prepared remarks, but I'm going to have to go off script because I think I can agree when we talk about updating zoning, as a person who's developed 6 homes in Dearborn and improved them, developed 4 commercial properties, I am totally supportive of improving ordinance and zoning where it makes sense. So you'll have full support from a person who's actually developed and lived in Dearborn his whole life. The problem I have when I sat down was I heard a comment from the president that said, the goal of government is to make it easy for developers. I'm totally lost. So in a city charter, the preamble on page 1 says, city government shall serve the people of Dearborn. The quality of services and life will be protected and improved. And the protection of that goal is paramount. But I don't find the word developer in here. I don't find the word Michigan. I don't find the word yellow light. So I just want to respectfully disagree, Mike, that I think that Dearborn as a community, there's a whole other side to what Dearborn is. There's the
No,
charm.
without question, Mr. Alcadre, and just, I don't want to interrupt you, just going to pause for a second, but I said set the table, the government, and I did, and you forgot to preface that the MEDC has given the city a yellow light. I said that before several times on development.
Okay.
So
I'll pick it
I know,
up.
but I want to make sure those are
I'll
two
add-
separate.
I'll add set the table.
Right, but it's not just set the table. The state has said that we have an average of 3 to 4 variances on any project, and they gave us a caution light, which means a caution light is not good. We're not doing a good job. That's not saying that I'm choosing the business over the residents.
No, that's
It's a
fine.
problem, right, but that's the job of the government. Unless the people can go ahead and change the zoning, it's our job. That's why we're elected. I know, but I don't want to mix that because it's kind of looking as if, that's not the good statement. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for the clarification. So
No
I'll
problem.
fix it. If we got some yellow light issues, let's fix them. That's kind of what I said in the beginning when I said I'm in support of improving the ordinances. Regarding setting the table, I look at it as let's set the table for the residents that want to live here, that want to raise their children here, that want them to go to Dearborn schools. That's the table I want to set. And I think the residents are saying that's the table they want to set. But setting it for business people, developers, these are also people who will come in and eat the table when they're done with the dinner you just said. And we've seen that in the community. We've got buildings up and down Michigan Avenue that have demonstrated that from a builder's perspective. So it's not that we don't want development, but doing it in a way that respects the character and integrity of the community and the people that are here, reflecting their will, more so than the will of the developers, I think is really what I'm hearing people ask for. So I'm not really sure how this rezoning exercise, this wholesale rezoning exercise, not just the improvements of setbacks and other things, which we should move forward with, but how did this rise to the #1 priority of the administration when we have commercial property all over the city that could use these incentives that you're referring to, that could set the table for these
You have
other
30
properties,
seconds.
thank you, that are vacant, to maybe be taken advantage of. That could lift the tax base up. That could bring new economics into the community before we disrupt peaceful living, quality of life, green space, things that might need a little more care and analysis before we take the big step.
No, I agree. Thank you, Mr. Kadri, but I think you did come in. I'm not sure, thank you, everyone. I'm not sure if you came in, I think, a little late.
I came a little late, yeah.
But, no, I just want to make sure, because I said on the record, I don't want to belabor this. The current, everything that we're doing tonight has increased for the resident. So right now, you can build up right up on the edge on Garrison at the front, we are requiring that they have to have a 10-foot setback.
I read that.
Okay, well, I know, but hang on, I know, but you said these things, so now we gotta go through them again. Then currently, there's a 20-foot setback from behind. We increased it to 40 with a 10-foot of the 40 as a green zone and as fencing, which wasn't required. So to me, I would say that would be well, you're a businessman. Is that not a more burden on the business owner when he develops to now have a farther setback with the screening and a 10-foot?
I think it shows more respect to the residents that live
Okay,
there.
I just
So
wanted to make
That's why I
sure.
say some improvements are better.
Yeah.
But I would also say showing even greater respect would be, do we want to change this transitionary space to have such a heavy load of commercial when we have other commercial space available?
Let the mayor, let Councilman Abraham, I know. Okay, fair question.
This is the second time this came up, and I want to be clear. Because this is the fear factor again. This is mixed development, first floor only, soft businesses. Soft, not commercial, not industrial, not a 4-story office building. This has been mischaracterized over and over again. For what end, I don't know. You've read all this documentation, Mr. El-Kadri, and I know you understand what's in front of you. So to call this rezoning a commercial intensity is just a complete mischaracterization of what's going on here today. To call it a wholesale rezoning, let's be clear again, I think it's 4 total blocks. It's not a rezoning of all of Dearborn. It's not a wholesale rezoning
It's
of.
the West Downtown District, correct?
No, it's north, the maps have been over and over again. It's Garrison Street between the Garrison Street between Military and Brady East.
And up along Oakwood, no?
Up along Oakwood.
That's West District, that's the whole district.
That's already zoned in this district.
I really don't want to debate it, so Robert.
Well, you can, because you're at the podium.
No, I know, but
Some of this property is already zoned.
I want to
this
clarify
zoning.
the word commercial for me, as a business owner and a commercial developer. Commercial in my world is any investment that I'll put money forward to make a return with retail on the first floor. So without debating the word commercial, I'm not Ford Land. I'm not looking to build a factory. But a commercial investment would be a 4-story, first floor retail, 3-story park. That's commercial to me.
And I agree with you. It's semantics, but it's important when we're having public forums that we're very clear to your audience. And there is a big difference between saying we're rezoning this commercial and saying what it really is. It's mixed use with any story above the first floor being only residential.
That's fair.
It's only residential above the first floor.
That's fair.
Can I add one remark, Council President?
Yes, Mayor.
Sorry to jump in.
No,
It's okay, I'll
not
let you
not at
respond.
all.
Just let him. Mr. Mayor,
I
go
think
ahead.
it's also important to note that nothing on this block is also currently residential. It's all businesses. And so to also characterize this as we're bringing in commercial is also false, because it all is currently commercial. And so I know you might have one house or so, but on Garrison Street, that block that we're talking about is currently all commercial businesses. You got a tattoo shop, you got a law office.
Okay. Folks, we will not allow outbursts from the council. That's your warning. There will be no outbursts from the floor.
The
You
block
sign
that
up
we're
and come and talk in the
particularly
front.
speaking of on Garrison Street currently, okay? We doubled the setback off the back with a green buffer. We increased the setback off the front. And I think and we lowered what we initially brought forward in terms of increasing the height. In total, we increased the height 3 feet.
Right.
Currently, somebody right now can buy one of those parcels, put a commercial in there as you stated it, and go up 45 feet high with 0 setback off the front and a 20-foot setback off the back.
Right.
We said you can go now 48 feet with a 40-foot setback off the back, and anything off the first floor has an additional setback. So the first floor has a 40-foot setback. The second floor and above have an additional setback, as the image demonstrates as well, which I think is further respecting the residential neighborhoods in that area.
Right.
And so I
And
think
I
the
agree.
overall majority of the
I
zoning
think those
measure
are
is
good.
actually a benefit.
And it's on the screen now as well.
I agree.
I just wanted to be
Those are
clear
good
about
changes.
that those, many of those businesses on Garrison are currently commercial as you would define it.
I don't want to be characterized as being afraid of commercial. I'm not afraid of commercial development.
we know.
And I'm for development in the city, so there's no issue there.
We know.
I'm for improvements like setbacks. I think what I'm also for is the voice of the people, the will of the people. And what I'm hearing, and I was at the planning meeting several months ago, was the residents who are adjacent to this new concept of mixed use are pushing back. And I think just understanding that with a little finer tooth comb and getting more of those improvements or that language that gets them comfortable, I think is a win-win. Because then I think you get the additional investment you're looking for, an improvement on Garrison, and you get the support of the residents. I just don't hear the full support. That's my view as a resident. I don't live there, and I'm no longer in that district on Garrison.
But if you also listen to a view of certain people, you would never opened your facility, your black box, right? You also had am I right or not? I mean, you're a
I'm not
businessman.
sure. Tell me more.
I mean, the point is, our job is to make the best interest and best decision for the city in a whole, right?
Yes.
Right, so if you use your same philosophy that you just told us, you probably would not have been able to open your place. Remember where the liquor store's across the street? I forget where it's.
Oh, the original black
one.
box?
Right.
On Monroe.
On Monroe, I apologize. I don't want to mischaracterize it.
Yes.
I'm sure you had people that complained about that when you tried to open it, remember?
Actually, I had real support from the residential association, just so you know.
Okay,
Sorry.
so you came to ask us to change that, hold on. You came to ask us to change the parking in front of it because they were, you remember that or no?
If you give me 15 seconds,
No,
I'll answer it.
I'm just trying to make an
If
point, but.
The parking was changed by the chief of police, not this chief.
I know.
From 1 hour to 15 minutes, and
Okay.
for my business, which is a sit-down coffee shop in that location.
Right.
I needed more than 15.
Right.
That was the
Right.
support I needed from the council.
Did we give it to you?
You did, and I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have, you know what? The soft, do you have an explanation on the soft commercial? Is that defined? Because we were indicating, is that something that you're ready to
First
know?
floor allowable uses. Correct.
Do you have some of that? Because I'd like to, I don't want to speak incorrectly, so before we call the next speaker, can you just explain the difference? Because from what I understand, not even a coffee shop is allowed in that area, is that correct? Or is that the one on Brady? I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. If you're not prepared, Jordan, to answer, it's not a problem, we can.
So basically, what you're looking at, so I have the table, so for folks that want to follow along, it's basically your second to last page in your packet.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving me a second to look this up, I just
Yeah,
don't
of
want to
course.
get anything wrong here. So when you're talking about the urban mixed use on Garrison, so if you run through that table, the uses that are permitted, generally, light visitation during the day, light parking requirements, things that are what I would characterize as heavier, they're either not permitted or they're special land use. So, for example, you look at like places of assembly, restaurant, all of that would be special land use.
So a restaurant would be special land use.
Correct, which is basically has a whole other layer of.
I know, we already know, we know what the special land use.
Yeah.
So, just for the residents, so, on Garrison right now, could they put a restaurant there now?
No.
Okay, and so it's not any worse, we're not
Correct.
allowing that, an increase on it?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, Ms. Dawn Ajami?
And the last page has it, Council President?
Yes.
And so like, clinic is permitted on the first floor, but not on anything above the first floor.
Right.
A childcare center is even a special land use.
Child care center, special land use
We
traffic, yeah.
also ban bed and breakfasts, you
Yes.
can't have short-term rentals.
Right, I mean,
Office would be permitted, and that's retail sales.
Mayor, can you turn the microphone on?
And retail sales, that's essentially what you're talking about would be permitted on the first floor, and nothing else.
Okay, we have a few more speakers. Ms. Dawn Ajami?
I did not wish to speak, but I.
Oh, I apologize, that's okay. Oh, you do want to now?
Yeah,
Okay, yes.
since you called me up.
I apologize.
I live at 840 South Brady, across the street from the museum. I've been there probably 30 years, and we do not have any parking on Brady whatsoever. I have nowhere to park. I have a handicapped family member, so when someone comes over, we have nowhere to park. And the museum has functions there all the time. And that parking lot is packed constantly. Field trips from our Dearborn Public Schools. So right now, I can barely get out of my driveway. Honestly, I'm having a hard time backing out and going the opposite way. I know they put a stop sign on Morley, but I'm just having a hard time. The traffic is crazy, the congestion. So it just really concerns me what's gonna happen. Everyone comes, walks in that community. It's the nicest thing, like he was saying. It's the nicest thing in Dearborn. I mean, I grew up in Dearborn, I moved away, I came back, and I know I love the growth, but it's just too congested in that area. Everyone avoids Michigan Avenue, so they go down Brady.
Thank you. All right, we have Darrell Barrett? No?
Darrell?
Oh, I apologize.
Darrell Bartlett, 21536 Garrison Street. So far tonight, I've heard two different things. Councilman Abraham said that it would start at Howard Street and go to Military. Now we're told it's Brady going to Military. What actually are we talking about rezoning here?
I'll be clear.
Thank you, sir.
I said Garrison between Military and Howard, and Brady property east of Brady.
Right, but
Not-
so the
not-
first block off of Brady to Oakwood is not included in this rezoning at
It's
all.
excluded.
It's totally excluded. Nothing
Excluded.
can change on that.
Not tonight.
Okay. We have been told that nothing would change when Les Stanford's first moved buildings off the thing and became a condominium.
And
We've been told many things by this city
There-
about that street.
I'll be very clear. Garrison between Brady and Oakwood is not in front of us tonight.
Okay, well, that was not what was just said a moment ago.
If I mischaracterized what I was trying to say, I apologize. What I was trying to say is Garrison between Howard and Military.
Where
and
the tattoo
east-
shop is and the other buildings are currently there.
Yes, and Brady on the east side of the
And we're
road.
talking about the parking lot in the building that used to be part of the hotel room, or the hotel, the motel.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what we're
Sorry
speaking.
if I mischaracterized
Okay,
that.
thank you.
It was not intentional.
Thank you. I would like to say that I am against you guys developing the Brady as anything except a park or some sort of a water runoff situation. Putting more buildings in there, as people have said many, many times. Brady is a speedway. Garrison is a NASCAR speedway. People come around those corners now going 60, 70 miles an hour. This is including Les Stanford people who are moving their Corvettes. They come off of the back of those trucks and come down Garrison doing 70 miles an hour. I have personally gone over to Stanford and complained about it. This is ridiculous, guys. You can't even walk off your front porch in that area right now without somebody coming down that street going 60 miles an hour. And that is not an exaggeration in the least. I mean, we've got to be very, very careful about children in that area, dogs, wildlife in that area, elderly people who walk those streets. They don't have a chance to get out of the way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, anyone else? We are out of the cards. Anyone else would like to address this issue number 12 specifically that has not spoke before? So, would you like to step forward?
Good afternoon. I don't live in West Dearborn, but you get these residents over here, my Christian brothers and sisters speaking, my Lebanese brothers. And these guys spoke to you, and I already know you guys got your mind up that you guys are gonna vote on this today, and it's gonna be 7 yeas. We already know that. That's off the table. The mayor has a personal thing that he wants this approved, and it bothers me. And then you said, Chair, you said specifically you got something from the state. Can you prove it to the residents that they're forcing you to put something in the area without FOIA it? Show the public, until next time, table this today and just, get the paperwork, put it on the stand over there, and let people see it, read it. So we want to go back and forth. Why would the state of Michigan give you an order, Mr. Chair, or Mr. Hamud, or all council members, for you guys to sit there, what's it called? This is an agenda, somebody came over here and just told you guys, we want this in Dearborn, and you guys are pushing so hard for this, but you don't listen to the residents. Just to let you know, these people vote more than my people. They will vote you out if you do the wrong thing and vote today in the favor of the mayor. These residents need justice. You guys are the face of the justice for these people. Second of all, the Highlight Regency, it's under litigation. There were supposed to be condominiums there. Okay, I'm not, excuse me.
Is this on this item?
I am just explaining something to you, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
go ahead.
That there were condominiums that are supposed to be built over there. It's under litigation right now. And why don't we build them there? But we're so interested on Brady Street. Did you guys do a traffic study on Brady Street? Was there a traffic study done? Do you know how much traffic goes through there at between 3 to 4 o'clock? It's jammed. To get to the light, you need 5 minutes to get to the lights. I don't understand. Why are you guys pushing this so far? What is the personal purpose of this getting approved? These residents don't want it? Hey, man, they don't want it. It should not be an issue. But I already know you guys are rubber stamped. You guys are going to sit there and vote, and you don't care what the residents say.
You have 30 seconds.
That's all I have to say to you guys. Do the right thing. Vote no on this.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Anyone else from the audience would like to speak? Okay, if it's regarding this item?
Yes.
Okay, then you have to come up here, ma'am, and state your name and address for the record. That's the way the form works. If not, you can put it into a card and they can send it. Okay, you have to come up, state your name and address for the record.
So how do I do this? Just stand here?
Say your name, yes.
My name is Mary Beth Damiano. I live on Morley Avenue.
Excellent.
And he had a very good point. Was a traffic study done on Brady?
The answer is no.
Yeah, no, ma'am, the rezoning does not require a traffic study because there's no proposed project. It's a rezoning, is that correct, Mr. Torti?
That seems like a
Well,
really
let me answer
important thing.
Let me answer your question first.
Okay.
You asked if there's a traffic study done. My belief is that there's no, and is that a requirement for rezoning?
No.
Okay, because there's no development in order to know the traffic study.
But there will be. Doesn't it seem like a
That
good
will
idea?
happen on the next stage, ma'am. Everything happens in an order.
After you pass the zoning law.
That's right, because the zoning law will then interpret on how much can be used there, then you do a traffic study, so it's not in the order.
It is true. It's like the Hunger Games walking around there right now. But anyway, I want to thank you for letting me ask that question.
Of course.
And I do think you awfully say a lot. Are you Mr. Abraham?
Councilman Abraham.
Yeah, you shouldn't say the fear factor thing when these people have legitimate concerns. It's very patronizing and rather pretentious.
I didn't mean to come across that way. If I did, I didn't mean to come across that way. But,
Ma'am.
well, I apologize for that too. But it's very hard up here when there's lots of misinformation, and we try and stay on the facts so that we don't have to unwind emotionally, and we can deal with what is really in front of us. And I apologize for that. If I can.
Okay, ma'am, you cannot address from the floor. Thank you. Councilman Abraham, are you?
I'm done, thank you.
Okay, before we go to the council, just hang on. Anyone from the audience still like to speak, has not spoken before on this item? Okay, at this time, we're going to open it to the council. Councilman Al-Swafi.
Thank you, Council President. I asked a question earlier, and my question was, will new developments based on the zoning changes, will they be required to place a 40-foot setback across the board on Garrison? Answer was no, right, based off if it's a condo behind it or not, correct? Okay, so I do have an issue with that inconsistency. For me, I'd like to see a 40-foot setback across the board. And I understand some opinions that, hey, look, they're not gonna be worse off, because right now it's 20 feet, right, or 20 or 30 feet. But I'd like to see them better off in the future, not just not worse off. So I'd like to move to amend the proposal to show 40 feet across the board. If we're making a change to zoning, we want to see them better off in the future. And I understand my colleagues that have different opinions, and I 100% respect that. But I'd like to move to amend the proposal, and then legal can help us with that process as well, if possible.
I support your amendment.
Okay, so, Mr. Mendelson, we have an amendment by Councilman El Swafi to amend the setback of the condominium section to be included at 40 feet. Is that my understanding, Councilman El Swafi?
That is correct.
Okay, and
Across the board, so no
Right.
pockets that are 30 or.
Well, there was
20.
only one pocket.
Well, just to be clear, across the board. If there's another pocket that we should know about, then
Well, it's our job to know if there's another pocket. I mean, are you suggesting a different amendment than just the condominium?
Well, I'm saying across the board. So across the areas that we're changing, it's 40-foot setback, regardless of what's behind it.
Mr. Mendelson, I would
guess
consider
for-
that too broad in nature. What would you like to?
Well, he can make the motion, I guess, to clarify, just to clarify, is the motion to amend to make a 40-foot setback in the rear of all properties being rezoned under the ordinance?
That's what he's saying.
Okay, then.
That would be
the
too
proper-
broad.
Well, the proper procedure then would be to call for a support and then a vote on that motion.
Okay, so you're indicating on Brady as well?
Well, all residential on Garrison.
Residential.
Residential.
Clarify residential.
Residential.
Well, we already have it 40-foot of residential. It's the condominium only is what you're looking at. Is that correct?
Correct. That is the
Okay,
section.
we have to, this is the issue. So if I'm going to restate.
It would be part of resident, there's residential single
Right, I know,
family.
but it's not the Brady section. It's not the whole rezoning that we're in front of us today. So that's that pocket he wants to convert. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I think the only parcel it affects is one lot on
Correct. That is
Okay.
one lot, but I.
Garrison abutting more.
And the ordinance is currently writing is it does not, it is at 20 feet on condominiums.
Correct.
So I believe the amendment, Councilman El Swafi would like to make is to change the condominium restriction to 40 feet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And that was, is that what you understand for your
Yes.
Councilwoman
I
Herrick?
support.
Supported it. So, does any, Mr. Mendelson, do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. So we have an offer to amend the condominium section and by,
May I ask a question in regards to that?
yeah, but let me just get this down for, absolutely. So we have an offer by Councilman El Swafi and support by Councilwoman Herrick to amend the condominium section of the ordinance. Is that an ordinance or that's just for this right now? Mr. Mendelson? Because I want to make sure we can do that. It doesn't have to go back to planning, right?
No, it would not need to go back to.
Okay, so to amend the condos to also be included in the 40-foot setback, correct? Okay. So we got that correct. Councilman Parrish, you have a question?
Yeah, if you don't mind, and Councilman El Swafi, I hate to put you on
Not a
the
problem.
point here and so on, but just that I get an understanding, what would the benefit be of doing that for that one particular parcel?
Right. So I walked the neighborhood and I spoke with some of the residents that live in those condos. And I feel like they should have that 40-foot setback as well. There's no difference if somebody's a residential home or a single family or a condo. They still enjoy the backyards and they should have the opportunity for that privacy. So I feel like they should have that same setback to be consistent across the board on Garrison.
Councilman Parrish, you have any other questions?
No.
Councilman Hamud?
Yeah, so looking at the zoning map, where it's currently at, where we're proposing it, first, I still don't understand the impact of the proposed change in the buffer, because and I think this is one thing that we've been kind of trying to discuss this meeting, and Councilman Abraham alluded to it. We're not actually changing much of the zoning overall, and like Councilman Paris said, there's only one parcel that this is going to affect, and we haven't heard from planning on how that would affect any parcel that is going to be adjoining it on what I assume would be Garrison, essentially. So until we actually get an understanding of what the impact is of the change that we're now proposing right before we vote on the actual final ordinance, I guess I just don't understand what the impact is in order to be able to know if I support or oppose what you're talking about. So could you elaborate as far as, what's the address of the property so I can at least look it up and take a look at what condo you're referring to that's gonna abut a property on, I guess, Garrison Street? So where is that gonna be located?
Sure. Well, if you look at the map, it's right here. You can see those are the condos, and I should.
Do you have it,
So
Jordan?
there's 6 properties?
No, there's
Six units?
Not Garrison, it's only 2. 2, but it's, and none of them, and they were noticed, is that, Mr. Gunnison, were they noticed, the homeowners of the condo association? Is that, I'm not sure we had any of them up here, just want to make sure.
I don't know if the
Which
notice.
condo is it?
I don't know if notices were sent out. That would be
It's on
something
Morley?
that, economic development would
So
handle.
22275 Morley
I
Street.
assume all the zoning notices were met, because they usually are.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, or always are, rather.
It's on Garrison?
On Morley.
Yeah, so the address I'm seeing
Condominiums on Morley.
is 22267 Morley Avenue. 22267 is what I'm seeing.
I don't know that address.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any other?
So aren't they going to be zoned as RA anyway? So how is, so
RD.
they're RD right now?
They're not single, well, I don't know what they are now.
They're going to
To
be,
conform, they would be in an RD zone.
so they're gonna, so we're going to rezone, so right now it's gonna be mixed residential. And they're gonna be, are they gonna be conforming to mixed residential?
We're not
Just-
changing the
yeah.
zoning on Morley.
Just to clarify, from our perspective, I think just doubling the setback abutting the condo association doesn't make a significant impact. So, I mean, it's fine. Okay, it's not.
And just for clarification, it would make whatever existing condo with the setback, if it complies currently with the current requirements, amending it would make any existing condo not legal non-conforming.
Right, which is another issue in itself. Correct. When they come and they want to change anything in their house or do anything repair. I mean, this is what I was talking about from day one, when we change these things and the triggers that happen, so we need to be careful. They were noticed, I'm assuming, because we did ask this last time, because they were within 300, they're in the zoning district. And from my recollection, we had nobody from that area come, from those 2 condos that, or so that came in and complained or asked for an increase than what it is. And this puts them in no better position. I would argue that it puts them in a worse position, because now they're legal non-conforming, which is not only zoning issues for them, there's also financing issues as well that happens when that's triggered. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, so part of what I'm trying to get at
Right,
also is by starting to address condos in this change in the ordinance, I guess the first question maybe for Mr. Torty would be, are condos going to be conforming in the new mixed-use designation, or in the current mixed residential?
I think you guys are missing. Yeah. This is not gonna affect the zoning of the condos.
Okay.
Right now, there's an exemption, essentially in the mixed use on
Okay.
Grierson.
Right.
That if there are condos on Morley, the setback's only 20 feet instead of 40 like we've been talking.
Right.
Okay.
There's only one lot with condos on it on Morley
Right.
that abuts Garrison.
Right.
And it's ironically right behind the building that just got built by doing everything we don't want them to do, by tearing half the building down, saving the setbacks, and manipulating, in my mind, the zoning code and the building code so they could do what they wanted instead of doing what was set out in the ordinance. So those condos are right behind that building that just got completed with construction.
So the ship has sailed on that one anyway.
What's that?
So the ship sailed on that one.
Well, it is what it is. That's what's there now, but
But Councilman, are you indicating that this change would not make them non-conforming?
not the condos. This is not gonna change the
It was only the
condo.
other, the
It would
development
change
would be
what's on
correct.
Garrison.
Right.
So the
Okay,
business,
they would not
so the
have-
business
so
that's
they would not
currently
be in
there
a
would
worse
become
position.
non-conforming because their
I don't,
setbacks
okay,
don't.
that's
I
how I
don't
make
think
sure.
so. I think he meets the 40-foot setback. He's got a parking lot in the back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the point is, the condos, whether it's 20 or 40, they would not be in a worse position.
Correct.
They would not be changed, it would not impact them.
Correct.
Not
So-
worse, but with
Okay,
40-foot
that's
setback.
Yeah, of course, Councilman Ellis.
With a 40-foot setback, they'll be in a better position, I believe, in the future.
So, then one more question.
Yeah.
I guess, because from my understanding with the architectural elements, it says that, for example, the green belt is only on abutting single-family detached So so is the green belt not included as well with the condos then?
It is.
It is.
Okay, so it's a green belt that's 10
10
feet?
foot all the way through.
Where's the green belt?
But it's placed inside of a 20-foot setback?
Correct.
Now-
So I mean, that would be, I mean, you'd have a hard time building that as is anyway.
Right.
So it's like,
So the 40 is
I mean,
okay
we
now.
can go ahead and regulate it, and you
Yeah.
don't have to make a motion, you can just ask the people who are supporting, so I have.
He already
acceded
made,
to
he
it.
already made a
Okay,
motion. He already
all
made
right.
your motion, but we can, as Councilman Hamud is indicating, if, since administration's also indicating there's no concern.
So-
If the offer was, let's see. Yeah, I know, the current amendment, right?
So right
We're
now.
talking about the
you have-
actual ordinance, right? Hang on, Councilman Hamud, I know where you're getting at. So, Councilman Hamud and Enos, if they agree to amend the current proposal, then we can withdraw the motion since it would be put in. Is that what you're indicating?
Yeah, right now it's a hostile motion to amend, you can just do a friendly amendment.
Right, I know, but so is that what you're proposing?
Yeah, sure, I'll do a friendly amendment. Yeah.
Okay, so, Mr. Mendelson, we have the offer in support of the original two motion. Will agree to the terms that were put forward regarding the condo association. So at this time, we need to ask Councilman El Sawafi and Councilwoman Herrick if they're willing to withdraw so that this can proceed as amended already as what they wanted.
Yeah, it would be for
Councilman
Council
Al-Swafi?
Al-Swafi to withdraw the motion.
I don't have an issue with withdrawing as long as we make those changes.
Well, they did, the changes are
Yeah, we
made.
just-
Councilman
yeah,
Hamud
we just agreed
and
to it.
Councilman Enos agreed to the changes.
Okay, perfect, thank
All
you.
right, so those have been changed. Councilwoman Herrick?
I withdraw my.
Okay, so withdraw. So clerk and Jackie, make sure you indicate that. And Mr. Torta, you understand?
Yes.
That the condos, so those condos will be in conformity with 40 feet setback with the 10 feet
Yes.
green better, like the residentials.
Understood.
All right, so that's good. All right, so I know we had some other, Councilwoman Herrick would like to speak. Councilwoman Herrick, and then if anyone else would like to speak on a council, let me know. Yeah.
Thank you, Council President. First, I just had a question, going back to the discussion about non-conforming individual residences, homes, whether the existing homes are non-conforming now, or they'll be, going back to a conversation we last spring, and I'm sorry, I don't know where it is in the actual ordinance, but I recall discussion when meeting with some of the Morley residents, that what we're trying to do with some of this ordinance is to correct a situation with the existing ordinance, to make it, that made it that the existing single-family homes were non-conforming today, and that this ordinance, as we're revising, is going to correct this so that they're not non-conforming, but they're now conforming. And the discussion tonight sounded opposite to me. So before we vote today, are the single-family homes in the neighborhood conforming or non-conforming, existing?
So Councilman Abraham had it right. Their status is not changing, but what will happen is because of the applicability now of the RA standards, they will have a lot easier time of doing whatever they would want with their homes. Because right now that they don't have that to lean on, they're kind of floating there in that district. So that's essentially the big change that will happen here tonight.
But I thought they couldn't.
Only on Garrison.
Let's be clear what
Yes.
we're, it's not affecting anything on Morley
Correct.
or Garrison between, say it correctly, Brady and Oakwood.
Correct.
These changes will make it easier for residential dwellings on Garrison to do remodels
Correct.
essentially, or to be
Exactly.
reconstructed,
Yes.
if they follow the rules.
Yes.
So today, are they conforming or non-conforming?
They are non-conforming.
They are non-conforming, but they will still remain non-conforming, but the changes will make it easier for them to make modifications to
Correct.
their home.
That is correct.
Okay, there. I had such a hard time following that, because when Meredith asked that question, I thought that was the answer, but I wasn't hearing it in the words that I
only
understood.
on
So I think we're on the same page now.
Please.
Yay. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Oh, she's on Morley.
This is the confusing part.
So are you done?
To that example, and
Well-
she's not in the.
Yeah, she's on more.
Right, we all went through that. We want to keep this meeting orderly. Councilman Herrick, do you have some more points?
Well, yes, I want to thank the residents who came forward with their excellent observations regarding the wording in the ordinance that we are reviewing right now, the changes, and their concerns about protecting quality of life in Dearborn going forward. So I just wanted to say, we have to look at, regarding just the Brady property, because everything else has been pretty much hashed out, especially with the conversation we just had. But the conversation regarding the stretch of Brady that's looking to be rezoned from I have to look at the words, mixed residential, on the east side of Brady, going north of the McFadden Ross house to the end of the city-owned property. The proposal is to change it to urban mixed use. So right now, as mixed residential, if the city were to sell it, somebody could build a single-family home or condos up to 2.5 stories. Changing it to urban mixed use, if the city sells the property, the city could entertain proposals to put an urban mixed-use building, as discussed, up to 4 stories on that building with commercial on the first level. So just regarding that one segment, a very important property in Dearborn, as one of the residents said, we have to look at it from a historical and an environmental perspective because of its unique location along the Rouge River and in the heart of Dearborn, where there are woods and wildlife that you're not going to find out anywhere else in the city. Before any changes are made to the property, an environmental impact study must be conducted. Although it is relatively small space, its vital location raises questions about the potential to disrupt the progress towards a clean river and a bicycle and pedestrian-friendly city. Any sale or development of this public land must take into account factors of environmental sustainability, habitat connectivity, public accessibility, and the contribution this property makes to the overall quality of life in Dearborn. This unique area where public can access the attraction of hundreds of acres of woods, river, and wildlife, and right at the heart of our city, could be permanently protected through a conservation easement or at least rezoning as a public park. At this point, I'd like to make a motion to amend the ordinance to deny the request to rezone the portion of city-owned property at the east side of Brady Street, north of the McFadden Ross House, from mixed residential to urban mixed use, excluding this parcel of land from the rezoning proposal. And we have
Mr. Mendelson? Yes, I want to make sure we do this right. So Councilwoman Herrick, I think is indicating she wants to deny, is that, or is it sever? Is that, you want to deny?
Whichever.
She made a
Well, you
motion
have
to
to,
amend.
you have to state it. That's why I'm trying to clarify it for you.
I'd like to sever it, but I don't know if, can I
Okay, well,
use
you
the
made a
word
motion,
sever?
you made a motion to amend.
You made a motion to amend to deny.
amend.
So you want to make a motion to divide the question?
Well, that's a separate requirement.
So you,
Okay.
well, I guess I don't know
Yeah.
what you want to do. If you're making a motion to amend the ordinance, then that's what you've done, is make a motion to amend. If you want to divide the, what's before you to sever out the Brady property, or the property on Brady that's in question, then that's a separate motion.
I'd like to make a motion to sever.
Okay,
To
then
sever it
proper
from the
procedure,
proposal.
just withdraw the motion to amend and then make a new motion.
Okay, I'd like to withdraw the proposal to amend.
Okay, hang on. Councilman Parrish, you withdraw your support?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman.
And offer a proposal to sever the Brady property from consideration.
Yeah, a motion to divide the question.
A motion to divide the
Well,
question.
divide the question has different criteria. You have it in front of you?
Yeah, it's.
Because there's a
it's-
specific, okay.
Yeah, so a motion for the division of any question, as long as it can exist as a distinct motion. Which in
Independently.
this case it can,
Okay.
because essentially what would be happening is you'd have two amendments in front of you. The amendment that's currently in front of you for all the other properties except the one being divided, and then a separate ordinance as it relates solely to the city-owned property on Brady, on the east side of Brady, that is being proposed to go from mixed residential to urban mixed use.
Right, but will that require 2 readings now?
No, it will not, because that rezoning was already contemplated, reviewed, and had a first reading by council.
Okay.
So it can survive on its own.
Okay, so we're going to
It's
just...
by majority vote.
Right, so we just like to, Mr. Mendelson, I'd like to help Ms. Herrick, Councilman Herrick, restate that so we have it, because we have an offer and then we need a support. No problem, because originally you said denied, and that's why I stopped you.
Yeah.
So, can you help Councilman
Sure.
Herrick, now that you know what she's asking for?
So I think it would be a motion to divide the question regarding the request to rezone the Brady properties on the east side of Brady, the city-owned properties on the east side of Brady that are being requested to be rezoned from mixed residential to urban mixed use, to divide that question so it stands as a standalone ordinance request.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mendelson.
And then-
Mr. Clerk, do you have that?
I'll support it.
Okay, supported by Councilman Paris. All right, so now at this time, Mr. Mendelson, we have to vote on this specific aspect, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
On the motion.
on the motion. Okay, Mr. Clerk, you don't have it, or would he have to read it for us?
We're voting on the motion to divide.
First your
Motion to
motion,
divide.
yeah, first it's on the motion.
Right.
To divide.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I want to make sure, does he have to read it in or no? Does the clerk have to read it, or it's acceptable as you indicated? We have offer and support, and then we'll vote on it.
You have enough support, you can put it to the body.
Okay, so at this time, we have an offer by Councilman Herrick and supported by Councilman Paris to divide the question to the Brady properties to be severed from this zoning. Mr. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on that? And a roll call vote yes would mean that you would sever the question. A no means that it will remain intact as it's been brought before us.
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Clerk?
Councilmember Hamud.
No.
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Paris.
Yes.
Councilmember El Sawafi.
No.
Councilmember Herrick.
Yes.
Council President Sereni.
No.
Councilmember Enos.
No.
4 noes, the motion is denied.
Okay, so at this time, we will proceed with the regular scheduled motion. Is there any other comments or questions from my colleagues?
On the regular motion.
Yeah, regular motion, Councilman Hamud?
So, again, kind of going back to the
Is there a
property.
question, right?
Question? No,
You have a
mo-
question, right?
I have a
Or no,
question. I'm speaking on the regular motion.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. So, I guess 2 questions, actually. One for Director Twardy.
Okay.
And this is kind of going back to addressing the modification we just made, and something I just wanted to understand. Are condos not considered part of RA? Is that what it is? The one that's on Morley? It's in its own little,
Yes.
so it's a separate kind of
Yes.
zoning? Okay, that's what I was just missing.
Yes.
Okay, now I understand what we just did. And then the next one is, and now this is just a statement and a clarification before I get into launching a little bit more on the speech. Anything that we do with the property that abuts the historical museum, if we want to do anything else to it anyway, it comes back to council, and then we would do studies, we would look at proposals, we would analyze what kind of financial impacts it would have on the city and things like that. So just because we open the door to redeveloping the area, as well as actually moving the historical museum into being conforming, because right now it's non-conforming. Right now it's RA. I mean, the historical museum is very much not a single-family home. I think everybody knows that, and neither is the parking lot. So now it's actually going to be conforming with its own zoning requirements, meaning that there's a lot more flexibility with what the city can and can't do with it and how we market it. So overall, it's a good move for that specific piece, and it's going to come back in front of council anyway for discussion. And when that discussion happens, if anything even happens to it, then we'll have that conversation then, and we'll have actual information that we can make a decision based off of. But in zoning, you can't attach requirements to a rezoning, whether it's to a project or whatever, especially on private property. But we can attach all kinds of nuances and requests and things. If anybody ever watched what happened on on Michigan Avenue when we did the Tux property. That was many, many meetings and many, many study sessions. So, I highly encourage you guys to get involved when the city actually does want to do changes to city property that's going to affect neighborhoods. So that's just one statement on procedurally how that works for zonings. Next, on the other hand, I would like to thank everyone for coming today because, zoning is a big passion of mine, and it's something that doesn't get very much attention, and I really appreciate how many people came out here today to talk about zoning. And while we don't necessarily always agree on things, I really do appreciate people taking the opportunity to sit here and kind of learn a little bit more about how the process works and what kind of opportunities we have for changing the way that the city looks, because this is kind of part of where it starts, and also this is how we generate more opportunities. This is how we generate more residences for people to actually be able to live in. And I think it is important that we modernize the city, and what we've been doing this whole administration is playing catch up, because there's a lot of things that haven't changed over the past 15 to 20 years that do need to change, that we do need to provide more opportunities for people to live in the city. So it's like Council President said earlier, as far as Ford employees receiving a packet. You know what? I was hired in full-time in 2016. That's when I stopped my co-op. And yes, I was handed a packet of where to live. And yes, Dearborn was not on that list. So you know what? And with all due respect, yes, many people are more than capable of figuring out where to live by just kind of looking at different places. But some people do want to be kind of pushed in a direction or do want advice. And people ask me as a younger engineer, I'm 29 years old. When I was first hired in, I was 22. And hey, where do you like to live? I encourage people to come live in Dearborn. And they come back to me, they're like, well, there are no real nice apartments, but I saw really nice ones in Birmingham, Royal Oak, Ann Arbor, and downtown Detroit. And you know what, and I understood where they were coming from, because the city had not done any of the kind of affordable housing or zoning changes that were necessary. And by the way, when we say affordable housing, affordable these days is like less than $1,500, it's a month. It's not like super cheap housing. It's housing that professionals and young people who don't have families can actually afford to live in by themselves. I live with my brother in a single family home, a 1,500 square foot home. Why do I have to have a single family home in order to live in the city of Dearborn? It would be nice if I could just get an apartment, but here I am. I love my home, and I maintain it, and I love to have barbecues and things like that, but you shouldn't force people to have to live that lifestyle. There are people who want to live in a more urban area. There are people who want to live with coffee shops downstairs. So providing that opportunity for people to be able to do that in our downtown districts that are vibrant, that are coming up, and we're building parks. We're trying to make a lot of changes to help modernize the area and provide the opportunities for younger people to be able to move in and enjoy these types of amenities. So this zoning project is just one of a long list of things that we're going to be doing. The master plan update is coming up. We're going to need all of your feedback on that one too, right? And I think all of the council members agree on that one. So there's a lot of things that are going to be happening in the next year, and I encourage you all to come out for all of those too, honestly, because we're going to have a lot more discussions about all these types of things and where we want to see the city going, especially as far as financial resiliency, because we need to make sure that we have the money to actually be able to maintain all these things, and environmental resiliency. The concerns about wastewater runoff and flooding are very, very top of mind, and we discuss it all the time. And these are so important as we make these decisions, and we know that, right? Parking lots are not good for wastewater resiliency. We know that, And the funny part is, high-density buildings, because of rules with Wayne County, are required to actually retain the water on site that falls on them. So ironically, even though a big building looks big and intimidating, it actually collects more rainwater than it lets out, compared to the gigantic parking lots that you see all throughout Fairlane Mall and the West Dearborn downtown area. So there's a lot of things that are going to change, and we look forward to being able to engage all of you on those types of things, and the ordinances that we're changing. It's all step by step. This is just one more step in a direction of trying to modernize the city. This is not going to change the whole area overnight at all, and like Councilman Abraham said, these are actually very incremental and small changes that we are making. Really, this all boils down to 3 feet on a height, changing some of the stories that are required, and allowing for more green belts abutting the single-family homes. So overall, this is going to be a net positive to a lot of the residents who abut these districts. So you know, I'm very happy that everybody came out. I'm very happy people may or may not have listened to us today. But, you know, keep coming, honestly. And you know what, like you saw today, we listen, we make changes, and we make changes on the fly. So, you know, please, thank you for being here.
All right, thank you, Councilman Hamud. Anyone else from council like to speak on this item again? Councilman Paris?
This is before we bring the issue to the vote.
Yes, correct.
First, I want to say thank you, everyone, for being here at these meetings, you know, ever since May, you know, earlier this year. Your voices have been heard. And just a few things that I want to bring up, because I think I'm going on a little bit of a different tangent than what's been discussed here at length. Our Dearborn zoning details considerable consideration to be taken as it relates to preventing adverse impact to properties. It specifically refers to any impact to our natural resources, like what we're talking around the museum. And it addresses vehicle traffic and parking, outdoor activity, hours of operation, impact on city services, such as utilities and police and fire. Also considered is the traffic, the noise, vibration, smoke, fumes, odors, dust, glare, and lighting impact on any adjoining and nearby properties. You know, there's been a little discussion about that, but not a lot. I'm not a property owner or a resident of this affected area for the proposed zoning changes. However, I am a longtime resident of 60-plus years and did in fact live close by at the Dearborn Towers for many, many years in that area. I know the area pretty well as a career police officer too. I attended the old Salisbury Elementary. I attended Adams Junior High as a youngster. I remember well the aggravation of Michigan Avenue center zone control that we had for many years between Brady and Allen. I well remember when there was serious consideration for making all of Michigan Avenue eastbound and Garrison proposed as a route for westbound Michigan Avenue. I remember that very well. Even at the Dearborn Towers, eventually they had to fill in the rest of Garrison as it went into Nowlan. You know, these things happen, and it doesn't happen overnight, but we have long-lasting impact for whatever we're doing, for better or worse. What I'm saying is that serious considerations are necessary to ensure viable neighborhoods are not adversely impacted. I've seen the number of businesses and developments impacting the quality of life in our residents. We have to mention the blighted and long abandoned properties like the old Hyatt and Village Plaza that's already been mentioned. Another long-term eyesores that I went by again today, it needs to be abated once more, are the Oakman Apartments, which coincidentally on Oakman north of Michigan Avenue has been viewed as affordable housing and given to us at the city level that that's what they want to do with that property, make affordable housing. Yet here, years and years and years later, it sits blighted. And it's could be viably used as property for housing. We all know other problem areas like what we experienced at Montgomery Ward, our old city hall. Years of problems with developing our own West Downtown Dearborn. With all the other needs of the city right now, I would ask that we slow down this whole process for possible change to the proposed zoning. What is the hurry? The city now is in the process of reviewing and evaluating a master plan that was mentioned at the Committee of the Whole and prior meetings and by Councilman Hamud tonight. This would include input and comment for a number of stakeholders in the city for up to a 2-year period. Why not wait until this new master plan is completed before this zoning question? I'm not in favor of any development in the proposed areas being considered for zoning changes that would allow anything over 3 stories. I'm also against the part of the Northern Historical Museum property to be rezoned as it is, and I know we already voted on that matter. I worked at U of M Dearborn when the Gateway Pathway discussions took place and when the county placed that pathway. I sat in a lot of these meetings about the bridge, the wait for emergency vehicles and what have you, security and public safety. I know what this area means to the community. Not one person, though, has contacted me in any way that is in favor of these proposed changes. Not one. But many others have spoken to me personally via email, phone, or in person. I heard them at council-related meetings or the committee of the whole, or in a packed council chamber during the planning commission meeting. The vast majority of people that have come to speak have been extremely peaceful and respectful. Every time a government takes action on behalf of its residents, it's an unspoken contract. A promise to residents that their tax dollars are widely spent on resources and efforts needed to ensure that they're represented and their safety and well-being is considered. Residents expect a benefit, a return on their investment, and their vote. When any of their quality of life is affected or at risk, whether it's actual or perceived, it's their right to voice their concerns, seek redress and remedy, or at least have their voices heard. I hear you. Residents and neighborhoods matter. Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Herrick.
Thank you, Council President. I appreciate the comments of both of my colleagues who just spoke and of the mayor who reminded everyone that if there's going to be new development on city-owned property that ends up being sold, that there are safety measures in place, because anything that is brought forward as a development on the city-owned property, first to the sale and then the developments themselves, do go to city council for approval. That said, I'm very disappointed we couldn't have separated the Brady property, because I think of all the discussions we've had over the months, the Brady property wasn't discussed as fully as it should have been early on, and it's the 9th hour, and it's unfortunate we tried to do what we could today. There's a lot of good that's been in the proposal that we're looking at today, and I'm sorry to see the good get mixed in with the things where we had questions today, that it seemed like things might not have been ironed out as much as they should have been prior to coming to a vote. And I just am going to put some faith in the system that as developments happen in the future here in Dearborn, that the council does take quality of life into consideration going forward with whatever is decided those projects are going to be. And I will continue to be a voice for the people. Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Herrick, thank you. But just for the record, nothing has been added on the Brady. That's been the same project that's been come through for months. So I don't want to get that turned around too. I understand that you're not, I know, but you're mischaracterizing it.
I'm sorry, I meant discussed.
No, it was discussed. It didn't come up to what you like. That's a difference. It's been discussed from day one. It's never been changed. It's been the same proposal.
We downzoned it. Initially, it was urban.
Right, but I understand. But my point is, it's not been added in the 9th hour.
Right, correct.
No, I meant the public discussion. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? All right, Mr. Clerk, any other question from I know we had all the people in the audience. We got every card. So at this time, Mr. Clerk, we would like to have, you have to do the first reading, right?
The final reading.
Final reading, and then I just want to interject that what it would be yes or no vote, if you don't mind, okay? Mr. Clerk, go ahead, final reading.
This is the final reading of ordinance number 23-1801, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of Dearborn by amending Article 27.00, Sections 27.01, 27.03, 27.04, and 27.05, entitled West Downtown District, as amended tonight.
Okay, and then the roll call vote, Ms. Mendelson, a yes would be as proposed in front of us currently with the amendments that we made. Is that correct?
Correct, Council President, with that amendment for the 40-foot setback on the condo.
Okay, so Mr. Clerk, can we have everybody on the council understand the yes vote was and then the no vote? So Mr. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Paris.
No.
Councilmember El Sawafi.
Yes.
Councilmember Herrick.
Yes.
Council President Sereni.
Yes.
Councilmember Enos.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamud.
Yes.
6 yeas, the ordinance passes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next item, please.
Item 13, ordinance number 23-1803, introduced by Councilmember Herrick. Synopsis, an ordinance to amend the License and Business Regulations, Chapter 12 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Dearborn by amending Article 1 entitled In General, resolution in need of resolution by Councilmembers Paris and Hamud to table the ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. This proposed amendment of Chapter 12 of the Code of Ordinances, the amendments are to Sections 12.5, licenses year and license a year renewal, and 12.6, licenses fee. The amendment of Section 12-5 is being proposed to better assist the clerk's office and the city in processing annual dog licenses. This will help accommodate the new presidential primary election in February, which will reduce the congestion at the Dearborn Administrative Center and ensure licenses are processed in a timely manner. The date will now expire March 31st instead of February 28th. The amendment also has in Section 12-6 is to add a $3 processing fee for mailing of the dog licenses and dog tags. Due to the changes at the postal office, the city must now mail all dog tags in a larger padded envelope, and therefore the higher cost will be incurred by the fee as well. The renewal fee will stay the same as $10 per year. Residents with only being charged $3 processing fee if they wish to have the tag mailed to their home. This is the first of 2 readings. Any questions or comments on this item? Okay, Mr. Clerk, can we have the first reading?
This is the first reading of ordinance number 23-1803, an ordinance to amend the License and Business Regulations Chapter 12 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Dearborn by amending Article 1 entitled In General.
Okay, and a unanimous roll will be attached unless hearing any objections. Hearing none, it is attached. Next item.
Item 14, resolution by council members El Sawafi and Hamud granting the request of the Dearborn Shop to host an outdoor temporary market on October 14th, 2023 from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. and November 14th, 2023 from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. in the privately owned parking lot located directly adjacent to its building at 21906 Garrison Street, subject to all applicable ordinances and the rules and regulations of the police department and requesting immediate effect.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The Dearborn Shop is seeking approval to host a temporary outdoors markets on October 14th and November 14th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at a privately owned parking lot directly adjacent to its building on 21906 Garrison Street. This temporary outdoor market days will allow Dearborn residents and visitors to enjoy retail and food options at one of the convenient located West Dearborn commercial area. The market will host approximately 16 vendors, 2 food trucks. All participant vendors and food trucks will obtain necessary street vendor license and food truck licenses through the city of Dearborn. The building owner on 21906 Garrison has provided permission for the Dearborn Shop via special land use permit application to conduct outdoor markets. The site plan will be submitted to the Economic Development Department, and the department does not foresee any concerns approving this permit for temporary market events. The plan is also being reviewed by the police department and fire department to obtain safety and fire approvals for execution on the market events. This is also requesting immediate effect. Any questions or comments on this item? Councilwoman Herrick.
I just would like to encourage anybody who is around the Dearborn store that day, or if you're at home and looking for something to do, I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful event. For those who have not visited the shop, there are all kinds of great things that, have the Dearborn name on them that you can use for yourself or as gifts if you're a proud Dearborn resident. And the vendors that they bring in always have a nice selection of goods as well. And just the whole shop's small. We'll hear more about that, as the holidays approach in November and December, but support our local businesses, please.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman Herrick. I do appreciate, I know you brought that up last time, too. I think that's a great comment. I heard some comment from I think it was through American Express or on the radio, of how much more impact if you just choose to buy one of 3 or 4 items locally. It's a significant impact to the economy of Michigan. So thanks for bringing that up, and I hope they do look into that. More to come on that. Any objection to unanimous roll on this item? Okay, hearing none, so is attached. Next item.
Item 15, resolution by council members Herrick and El Sawafi awarding a 2-year contract with up to 3-year, 1-year renewal options to Decal Inc. in the 2-year total amount of $800,000 for CSO facility equipment maintenance and repair, and requesting immediate effect.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. The Department of Public Works, in conjunction with the Purchasing Department, recommends a competitive purchase of sewer, storm drain, and combined sewer overflow and facility equipment maintenance and repair from Decal Incorporated, who submitted the lowest responsive and responsible bid and have provided services to the city in the past. The contract is as needed plumbing, pipe fitting, electrical repair services, and a host of other maintenance items. for, of course, our CSO facilities, which are located inside the city operation maintained by the Utilities Division. The contract will be a term for 2 years with up to 3 one-year renewal options. The requested amount is $800,000, which is $400,000 per year. It is requested that the council authorize the award with immediate effect to avoid any gaps in delay of service. Any questions or comments on this item? Okay. Any objections to unanimous roll? Okay, hearing none, it shall be attached. Next item.
Item 16, resolution by council members Hamud and Herrick authorizing a cooperative contract purchase from Longhammer Ford through the State of Michigan Extended Purchasing Program and Macomb Contract Alternate in the amount of $90,728 for 2 model year 2023 Ford F-150 responder vehicles for the police department and requesting immediate effect.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. These are 2 items back-to-back because there are different accounting measures. The police department, in conjunction with the purchasing, recommends a co-op purchase through the 2023 Ford F-150 responder vehicles from Lughammer Ford. The pricing for each vehicle is based on the 2023 Vehicle State of Michigan contract and Macomb County contract. The 2 Ford police F-150 responders will replace one of the interceptors in the current fleet that is in excess of 100,000 miles and becoming more costly to maintain and keep on patrol. The responders will allow broader capacity and flexibility than the interceptor, and also for transportation of personal supplies and heavier towing capacity. These responders are pursuit rated, so they can serve as patrol vehicles as well. The requested amount for the 2 vehicles is $90,728, and immediate effect is being requested. Any questions or comments on this item? Yeah, Councilman Hamud?
Just kind of on a sidebar. First, patrol is different than pursuit. Pursuit is better. So they can serve as patrol vehicles, but because they're pursuit rated, it means that they can actually chase after vehicles if they choose to use them. And also, I had the opportunity to work on some of these vehicles in my time, and I'm happy to see that the F-150s are being used by our department. And I actually had the opportunity I ran into one of our officers at Bangkok 96, and I got to see the actual vehicle itself. So they're very nice vehicles, and they've been using them very effectively. So I'm happy that we're continuing to look at more flexible vehicle purchases and modern vehicles for our police department.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, any objection to unanimous roll? Okay, no objection, unanimous roll should be attached. Next item.
Item 17, resolution by council members.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, it's the same item. We'll get it. It's another item. I apologize. Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Item 17, resolution by council members Alsawafi and Enos, authorizing a cooperative contract purchase from Longhammer Ford through the State of Michigan Extended Purchasing Program contract and Macomb Contract Alternate in the amount of $45,364 for 1 model year 2023 Ford F-150 responder vehicle for the police department and requesting immediate effect.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. This is identical to the first item. In this case, there's only 1 vehicle being replaced. It's a different accounting measure, and the request for immediate effect is $45,364. Again, this is an F-150 2023 pursuit-rated vehicle for the police department. Any questions or comments on this item from my colleagues? Okay, hearing none from the audience.
A couple of questions.
Okay, Mr. Jones, just state your name. I know.
Sana Young. There's 3 items that say F-150 on this. It's kind of fishy. I'm not understanding it. Instead of you buying it from one place, you buy it from here, 18, 17. It's all about F-150s. You work at Ford Motor Company?
Yes, I do. Mr.
Why
Oden,
didn't
the
you
difference
accuse
is,
yourself from the vote?
from this vote, no, but.
No, because you are a Ford employee. You have interest. You have to accuse yourself, Mr. Serini, from the vote.
Okay.
And I'm at number 18, and we're on number 17 right now.
Yeah, so let me address 17.
Number
I'll
17.
I'll give you your time, just give me a second to address 17.
On number 16, we have to go back and take a call, and you have to accuse yourself because you are a Ford employee. How do we know you don't have any interest in this?
Okay.
As a public figure, you're supposed to sit there and see if you have any.
Mr. Owen, this is purchased through a cooperative contract, and it was done at a place that I have no financial gain or release to. I don't work for this company, so that's why I can vote.
You work for Ford, right?
I work, no, I
You
work
work for a
Ford
dealership that's Ford dealership.
Right.
There is a conflict because you work at a Ford dealership.
Okay.
How
so
do we
Mr.
know
Owen-
that you didn't call the other Fords and say, hey, you got any vehicles? I'm just
Yeah, Mr.
putting
Owen,
it out there.
I know, we're gonna note that you you object to me voting on item 16 and 17, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Owen. All right, any other questions on item 17? Anything from the public?
I have a comment.
Councilwoman Herrick?
I'd just like to comment that I appreciate that Dearborn looks for opportunities to partner using cooperative agreements for purchases like vehicles for our fleets. Through these cooperative agreements, whether it's for, I'm trying to think, purchasing gasoline, that's one of the things as well. The city's able to save money by working in partnership with these other entities because they're selling basically, I guess, at bulk rates, if you want to look at it that way. So I know that these deals were negotiated very carefully on behalf of our residents so that we're carefully using our taxpayer dollars when we're making these purchases and the ones that are coming up following further in the agenda.
Right, thank you, Councilman. Just to clarify again, yeah, the cooperative contracts and stuff like this is competitively bid. What it does is it allows one municipality that does the bidding, then it is offered to others at the same price. So it does allow more flexibility and time for us not to do the work that was already done. So we do appreciate that, and it is very common on purchasing, especially automobiles. All right, any questions or comments on item 17? Any question? Any objection, unanimous roll? Okay, unanimous roll should be attached. Next item.
Item 18, resolution by council members Paris and Enos awarding a contract to Taylor Ford in the amount of $221,742 for the purchase of 4 F-150 trucks for the Department of Public Works and requesting immediate effect.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. I am going to recuse myself from this, and I'm going to have Councilwoman Pro Temp Herrick take the item.
Thank you, Council President. The Department of Public Works is requesting to purchase 4 F-150 pickups to be used as staff support vehicles from Taylor Ford. These vehicles will support our new contracts and new programs we have taken over involving the Clean Streets campaign, the maintenance of the city facilities, as well as downtown development areas, including parking garage contract and maintenance of the lots and dumpster enclosures that are ongoing issues. These trucks will provide support year-round for our team as we bring the DPW team, as the city brings more contracted services back in-house. The requested amount is $221,742 to complete the purchase of all 4 trucks. It is requested that the council authorize the award with the immediate effect in order to purchase the vehicles from current stock at Taylor Ford. Any questions or comments on this item from the public? Please come forward. I'm sorry, I should have done council first. Sorry, I did it backwards.
It's okay.
I got a couple of questions for the chair. Mr. Chair, did you get any commission on these vehicles?
Mr. Mendelson, I know you advised me not to discuss this item.
Who was
so
the person in charge of?
Is that my understanding?
Yeah, well, it's public comment, so you're not under any obligation to answer questions. You at the previous at the previous meeting, you noted the conflict on the record and you abstained from the debate and the vote as required under the council rules of order and the city charter. So you've complied with those provisions.
Okay.
But why Taylor Ford? That's what I was asking. If there was no negotiations, there's 100 dealerships that are Ford. Why Taylor Ford? That's my question. See, that's what people don't understand. There's a conflict here. There's a conflict that these trucks were purchased and the chair works there. It's a conflict for the city to get from there because he works at Taylor Ford. How do we know that the commission here didn't get it? See, that's what people don't understand. There's a conflict in this.
Well, I have
contract.
stated.
I understand you.
I have stated I received no compensation
accused
for
yourself,
that.
but how do we know you didn't have no conversation?
I'm just telling you, I stated it.
You stated, but we don't know that. We don't know if you had a conversation with the people. We don't know if you sat there and negotiated some price under the table. We don't know nothing. Listen, for you guys to get from Taylor Ford and you get from other two people, you should have said, I work there, I don't want, it should be a conflict of interest because he works there. We should not get any cars from anybody that works at a place because we don't know if he got commission from somebody and we're paying our tax dollars for Mr. Sereni to sit there and get a contract. It's either, every time, it's either Jurgensen Ford, and Jurgensen Ford didn't exist last time, I seen it on the agenda. We don't know what's going on. Every time it's Taylor Ford. I could get 100 times where all the cars come from Jurgensen Ford. Why not Fairlane Ford? Why not Bill Ford? But it's always Jurgensen Ford. That doesn't make sense. It's really not making sense. How do we know that somebody from the city did not tell him what the bid is, and he went back and told the guy underbid the what's it called? How do we know this? How do I know what happens in the city? I don't work in the city. I don't know what goes on. So I'm asking you guys at this time not to get from Taylor Ford. It should be exempt because the chair works there. I'm not saying nothing that's not making sense here. It's all making sense. It's in black and white. It says Taylor Ford. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Thank you. At this time, the representative of the Finance Department would like to elaborate a little bit on how we came to the decision to purchase these vehicles.
Sure. Good evening, Council. Mark Brzezinski, Purchasing Manager. We've been looking for vehicles for several months for DPW. We haven't had a lot of luck with the current situation. So we actually went to a few dealerships who didn't have the stock we needed. Then we went to Village Ford, who had some stock, but they didn't have the colors that DPW required. And therefore, they also were selling it to us at MSRP, which is the sticker price. So my senior buyer called around to multiple dealerships, happened to reach out to Taylor Ford, and he was able to secure pretty good pricing. It was actually, I believe, around a $3,500 savings per vehicle compared to the other dealership that had stock at the time. So, you know, we moved forward because of availability and because of savings to the city.
Thank you. And I apologize, I asked for the public first. Any comments from the council? Councilman Hamud.
I think at the committee of the whole, we also said DPW is looking for specific colors of vehicles, and that was one of the aspects. And then I did want to clarify for Director Hawkins that these are not pursuit rated. So I know now there's levity, but yeah, so. But I'm comfortable with how the contract went because we did discuss this at the committee of the whole, and Council President Sereni is an employee of the company that we are purchasing this from. So we are following all the procedures under the charter, and this was bid out by the Finance Department.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members? Okay.
Quinn?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to agree with what my council member stated. I was at the committee of the whole too, and questions were raised, and our council president recused himself in the vote, you know, and we got an explanation how this came about before. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this. You know, if I had any questions myself and so on, you know, I would have asked for our council president to be recused. He recused himself even before we got to that point. So I have absolutely no problem with the process and the procedures that took place.
I just have a quick question. Since we have one council member recusing themselves, do we need to do a roll call vote, or could we do a unanimous vote if no one else asked for it?
So under Council Rules of Order 4.3, it requires a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the council without the vote of the member who has the conflict. So there needs to be a roll call with 2/3 majority.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Clerk, may we please have a roll call vote?
Yes, Councilmember Paris,
Yes.
Councilmember El Sawafi,
Yes.
Councilmember Herrick,
Yes.
Council President Sereni,
Recused. Abstain.
Abstain.
You're abstaining and recusing yourself from the vote.
Okay. Councilmember Enos,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamud,
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham,
Yes.
6 yeas, the resolution passes with a 2/3 majority.
Next item, please, Mr. Clerk.
Item 19, resolution by Councilmember Hamud in need of support, authorizing a sole source contract purchase from Russell Landscaping in the amount not expected to exceed $86,600 for the construction of a third soccer field at Hemlock Park and requesting immediate effect.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will offer this as a support to it. I did talk to the mayor, and there was a lot of discussion regarding this. The Recreation Department is asking for a field where there is a softball. We had a lot of discussion with your deputy, Mr. Golich, regarding the lack of use and deterioration of it. My concern, and I do appreciate your department did provide us a good schematic of the 3 fields and where they're located. There's a really big buffer residential on Reuter, and I was concerned from going from 0 fields to 3, which the mayor indicated to me that they were already there playing, and there's already the same number of people going to be played there. So I don't have a problem with it from here, but here's where my concern is going forward. I addressed it with the mayor, and I'm sure he's going to address it with you. This body can either vote it up or down. We can't, and I've said this many times, we can't regulate the day-to-day operation. But I really encourage a strong policy regarding how many games per week, intervals between games for traffic and parking, because we are essentially going from, and I know some disagree that there is already a field there, but it was very poorly lined. I mean, I used to coach the kids there for football. It's not really designed as a pure soccer field. And now we're gonna have 3, 1 large one, 2 smaller ones. I do agree with getting rid of the baseball diamond that has deteriorated and sand and go to the grass. I agree with it. But again, it's gonna be in your side and the administration side so that we don't have any issues with people wanting to use it that are not from the neighborhood, because the intention of this from day one was that we needed this because that neighborhood needed it, and they're requesting it for lack of transportation to come to Hemlock. And I'm all for that, but I could foresee when you go from 0 or essentially 1 to 3 full fields that are gonna be properly done, people coming in from way other areas to use that, and congestion, and then the neighbors. And I know the mayor, you have obliged with the aspect of the buffer on Reuter that we approved before, so I have full confidence it'll be that way. But Mr. Fletcher, I do hope for our sake and for the council's sake for the future, that there's some type of policy that you come up with, the mayor and yourself, that will be very formal, and we can look to it and point to it when we do deny somebody from overuse or scheduling 3 of at the same time because of the traffic concerns. So, Councilman Hamud?
Yeah, so I think this is a good item because this is also another one of those improvements to existing parks that I constantly talk about, and I think if people were following the Peace Parks discussion, I'm very happy that the administration has chosen to allocate some of our ARPA dollars toward renovating existing parks and utilizing spaces that are not necessarily used as much for recreation for our residents. So, for example, the softball field, as Council President mentioned, it's not in such a good state of repair, and I know that there have been discussions with Dearborn Baseball and all the local organizations, and there were some agreements made as well on some of the investments we've made in the past into baseball fields, and I'm happy that, in the past, I feel that the East End has been left out of some of the park discussions, and if you go to the parks themselves, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm happy that this administration and this council is kind of taking that initiative to actually invest money into our East End parks as well. So, and another reason why I'm very okay with this, even if we don't necessarily know how all the details are going to be figured out, and we have confidence in you, Director Fletcher, that you're going to work on that. But also, essentially, the money that we're using is going to be used to kind of abate the baseball field and turn it into essentially a grass field. So if we want to change the structure of how many soccer fields there are, it's going to be easier in the future to do that once it's all cleaned up and a less intense use now on the property. So I think this is a really good move, and I really appreciate you guys bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councilman Hamud. Councilman Paris?
Thank you, Council President. We did have the opportunity during the Committee of the Whole, too, to talk to Mr. Golich that I asked about the use of softball fields within the city because I had some concerns about taking that softball field away. Is that going to detract for the overall amount of recreation opportunities for our softball leagues, softball teams? using facilities elsewhere because we're eliminating a diamond. And I got the answer that I was satisfied with, and I appreciate that there is less demand, but we still have enough surplus or enough capacity to be able to still take care of the softball needs of the city. It may be less than what it has been in many, many years ago, and soccer has really, even my own grandchildren, everybody is playing soccer, so I understand the needs for it. But one thing that was addressed during that council meeting too is the traffic and some of the use, and I know that's not something, within our purview, but I immediately, as soon as it was brought up by some of our council members, the experience that we had around Oxford Park, or Crowley Park, I'm sorry, down Oxford and so on, and I just would really hope that we don't have the same experience, on the residential area and the impact on that recreational area of the park, like what we did experience for a period of time, at Crowley Park. So I thank you for mentioning that, Council President, and that we're taking all this in consideration. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Mr. Fletcher, I appreciate you being here, and I think you heard the concern. I think the biggest consideration is the council and the fiduciary. We're the ones that will end up, if there's problems later and denied, if we don't have a solid policy in place, we cannot point to it as being, fair to all. So that's our concern, is just the overabundance of, at one time, to the neighbors that are living by the park. So I hope you take those considerations.
Yeah, just a quick good evening, Council. Sean Fletcher, Parks and Recreation Director. I just wanted to say thank you for the consideration. We have listened to the constituents. There are a couple of gentlemen within the crowd that may want to come up and add to the conversation. This area back in the day was a, big softball area, and back in the day we built a lot of softball fields. As John probably mentioned, now softball just doesn't have the numbers that it used to have. You probably had hundreds of teams playing back in the day, and probably a third of that now, roughly. So we have ample fields, we have ample lit fields, so that's good. We can always, schedule as late as ordinance allows if we get into that situation, but we're not even in that situation. So, and with the laser graded fields, I have not heard one thing from anybody with baseball. I think that was a really good move to provide those really nice fields for baseball. So I think we're doing some really good stuff in parks and a lot more to come. But I would say if the gentlemen from soccer and football want to come up, I'd ask them to, if they want to.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Fletcher. We will have that. Councilwoman Herrick has a comment first.
Thank you. Mr. Fletcher, while you're here, the baseball field over at Levagood Park is beautiful. It now has the lit scoreboard is up, and I know Divine Child is thrilled about that. I have a question about the top of the fencing. Are we going to be, has it been installed? Maybe I missed it. The whatever you call that padding
Like a
on top
corrugated
of the
plastic
fences?
that,
Yeah. Is that going to be installed?
I don't know if it has been, but it will be.
It hasn't been installed, but it's a part of the project.
Okay, because I know we're looking forward to that.
The
as
yellow,
well.
it's usually yellow.
Yeah. Okay.
Yellow or red.
Because some softball loving players in Dearborn asked me about that, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. President, can I just make a few comments?
Yes, and we do have a.
Yeah, and then we'll invite the public.
Absolutely.
I think I just want to emphasize to the public, when we say Peace Parks, everybody emphasizes on like the new park that's being constructed, and they forget that Peace Parks was the name of the whole grant to help improve the whole park system. And so just to the points, like we just improved Levagood. Levagood's now got 3 beautiful diamonds, which weren't really present prior to this investment. So that's really important. Hemlock has an investment that came in with the first soccer field improvement and now with the second soccer field improvement. Lapeer Park, we just completed the basketball and tennis courts as well as the soccer field also at Lapeer Park. So that investment is also part of the Peace Parks investment. Morningside is about to kick off with a full splash pad and playscape with a full play-in pour. That's happening there. We got Fort Woods and Crowley that are more than likely coming forward with some inclusive playscapes once we nail down with some of our vendors and talk with the residents. And then we also have Wyoming and Gold that was approved by the council and CDBG dollars, also part of the Peace Parks to construct that park. And we just finalized the design and bringing that forward to council as well. And so we're investing all over the city. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of more to come. So just want to, to talk about some of the things that have already happened under the Peace Parks umbrella, more than just what's happening in that one plot between 2 parking decks.
Thank you, Mayor. We do appreciate it. I know we mentioned it a few times.
And soccer and football fields. I don't want to discount my football people.
All right. All right, and now we have Waleed Mushra from the audience. And anyone else wants to speak on this item, just please step forward with their card.
Waleed Mashra, I'm AIM Board President. AIM Michigan, just to let you know, it's a nonprofit organization, and we run soccer programs for the youth. We're basically located at Hemlock. First of all, I want to thank the mayor, city council, the Dearborn Recreational for working on this. And just want to kind of elaborate on what you guys mentioned. The number of youth that we have, it's about 400 kids that comes to that soccer field. We've been running the program since 2014. The field that we use, we have portable goals that we keep changing. I mean, you mentioned adding a third field, but basically we utilize that as like 5 fields, 6 fields, small fields. So it's never been a concern there. And even though we have 400 kids, but they're not there at the same time. We have it, in different days. So, for every age group, we run from age of 6 years to 18. So we have different days for different groups where they come back and forth. So we're not causing a lot of traffic. We're not causing a lot of issues in that area. The program that we run is basically in that area is for the underprivileged. So a lot of the kids that come to our program, they can't afford the money and the expense at other, soccer programs.
Right.
They
Are
come
Dearborn residents? I'm sorry to cut you off, Mr. Mushar.
Yes.
The ones that are underprivileged, are they Dearborn
Dearborn.
residents?
They're Dearborn residents.
Okay.
Yes, they come within the walking distance. They come with their bikes. Mayor Hamoud came and Sean Fletcher, they came, they saw our kids, and we actually have a ceremony on Thursday. You guys more than welcome to come and join us. We have it at the Civic Center. So we basically, kind of providing the service for the kids, keep them out of the street. This is what our program is basically. We also provide like mentorship, guidance. Our board, basically at AIM Michigan, they're mostly doctors and engineers who went through these type of programs. So we know how important these type of programs for our Dearborn resident. So again, I want to thank you for the funding that you guys already, provided to renovate Hemlock, making it safe and suitable for soccer. I also want to thank you that you guys are looking into the additional funding to remove the baseball fence. I think that's really good, and it benefits the youth in our neighborhood and the overall Dearborn community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mushra.
I just want to add 2 more comments.
Yes,
We
Mayor.
also added speed humps on Reuter Street, right abutting Hemlock
that's
Park,
right. That's
as
right.
well as we recently planted trees that will grow to be large evergreens along that whole fence line abutting Reuter Street and where Hemlock Park is. And so with time, as the trees begin to grow, and we planted pretty nice trees, it'll be a good green buffer also for those residents with any action happening on Hemlock.
Thank you, Mayor. I do appreciate that. Sir, would you like to state your name and address for the record?
Hisham Al-Khatib. Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. So first, I just wanted to thank everyone from the Department of Parks and Rec for all the help that they've kind of helped us find a home from the mayor's office this year. I'm from Tractor Youth Football. And again, we have a similar goal to what our friends here at AIM Soccer have, is to provide a program for the youth. For the longest time, the city of East Dearborn it's been underserved. A lot of us here, we're familiar with the youth football programs that we've had over the years. They've come and, gone. And so special thank you to Mayor Hamoud, to Director Sean Fletcher, and Assistant Director Jonathan Golish for the work that they did this year to help us get a practice facility at Anthony Park. We showed up with the 3 levels this year. We showed up with a total combined census of about 40 people. 3 weeks into the season, today we locked our rosters, and I'm happy to report that because of our location and because of being in Dearborn Parks, we are at 115 kids that have been signed up for our program. That's
Great.
between freshman, junior varsity, and varsity levels of football, as well as cheer, which surprisingly we're able to fill all of our cheer spots. So being in the Dearborn Parks has helped us tremendously. Finding our home back at Hemlock, and I say back is because for the longest time, youth football was at Hemlock Park. It's central to the city. It's easily accessible for the neighborhoods. I mean, right now, we're at Anthony Park, and we're getting a majority of kids that are, walking in the neighborhood. That's how I found them. They were at the park, and they said, oh, how can we play football? And I'm like, go get a physical and come back.
That's right.
And they're like, oh, well, we can't afford it. We provided sponsorship programs for that, right? So we were able to sign up a lot of these kids and sponsor them as well, to get them the pads and the stuff that they need to do to be able to play football. And that kind of means a lot to us here on this side of town, especially being a Fortson alumni myself. Football is a big part of how we grew up, So that's kind of, what is it?
How did they do last week?
They did wonderful last week, Mr. Mayor. So we'll throw a quick congratulations to Fortson football on a great win last week, but we have bigger things to fry this season.
That's right.
But yeah, so for us, it's I don't see it being an issue with us coexisting with soccer. Currently we do practice at Anthony Park while Eunice Middle School is practicing on their field, while the freshman kids that we have are practicing on another field across the train track. We make it work. Most of them are drop-offs, so you're not getting, it's just a consistent drop-off and go. A lot of our census does walk there, so that also helps with the traffic. So I don't foresee any issues with any of that in the park areas.
Well, thank you, Mr. Al-Khatimi. I'm glad that the membership is getting back to where it's supposed to be, because I know it does help out, and it does help for them, for their safety. A lot of people don't understand. I coached for 15 years under the program. I was also a participant when it was at Ford Field for the Dearborn, the Mustangs.
Mhm.
So it's a great program. It does teach the kids safely how to play, and when they get to junior high and high school, it's a lot better. So we do
I was
appreciate
very
it.
concerned walking on the field day one with 13 kids. And
Oh, yeah.
You talk about safety concerns, that's 11 four-way starters.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, it was kind of a problem.
Well, I'm glad.
Sham, quick question. In college, there's a transfer portal. If, hypothetically speaking, if I had a council president who lived in the West End whose son played for the other side but wanted to transfer over, would you guys be willing to?
I'd pick him up, don't worry
just,
about it.
just putting it out there.
I'll give him a ride.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, guys.
Appreciate that.
it.
Thank you, Hisham. Yes. Strong?
Got a couple of questions about 19. It says this was a purchase. What do they mean by purchase?
It's a contract for $86,600 with Russell Landscaping.
So they're
For a
paying,
contract-
they're paying it?
I'm sorry?
They're paying 86,000?
City's paying $86,600 to Russell Landscaping for the soccer fields we were just discussing, for one of them.
Was it out for bid or something?
Yeah, it's indicating here that they were the previous contractor, and the value of the contract would not exceed $86,000.
On what bid, was it out on BidNet?
Yeah, I'm not sure it was out for bid that.
It has,
They have
everything
our
has to go out for bid.
Good evening,
Mr.
Council. Mark Krasinski, Purchasing Manager. When this was originally posted to bid for the first two soccer fields.
Right.
And now they wanted to add a third one, so we can do that under continuity of professional services. We're adding to that contract to do
Right,
a third.
with approval from the council.
Correct.
Yeah. So does that answer it for you?
But
I'm
when it
sorry.
says purchase, that's what I'm not understanding. Anything that's purchased has to go out for bid in the city. What about if we get a lesser bid than this?
It did, Mr. Owen, what he's indicating, it was bid out, they were awarded the contract, and now we added the scope of work to it, and it has to come back for approval, so we did. It's an extension of the contract, it's an approval.
But the summertime's over. Why we gonna get it now? That's
We like to be proactive, we like to be proactive.
Proactive for what? This, it says $86,000. If the city is paying, it doesn't go out for bid. What about if we got another bid?
Mr.
That's what
Owen?
that's what I'm asking. Everything has to go out for bid. We
That's
can't
fine.
just sit there and give it to people that we know. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, Mr. Owen, we know how it works, and we just explained to you how the process works. Do you have any other questions?
So you're gonna tell me legitimately, you don't have to put anything out for bid. I can just call my friend, hey, man, I got this place. Why don't you come over here and get it?
Mr. Owen, we're
How
not.
how did this
Mr.
go
Owen,
by?
Mr. Owen.
Listen, I'm not
I have
arguing about, how did
tolerated
this
it.
go
I'm
by
giving-
giving
listen to me,
somebody
listen to me. I'm warning you again. I've given you ample time to speak. I've let you come up here, believe me. I'm gonna tell you right now, you make your statement,
I made my
and then we're gonna go on with the meeting, continue. So that's it. You made your statement.
I made my
We made
statement.
it clear
It's
to you
go out for
that this
bid.
is part of our purchasing ordinance, and this is what we decided to do as a council.
So is it in the ordinance that you can do
Yes,
that?
there is an ordinance that allows this to
Okay, I'll get
happen
the
with a
ordinance, I'll
police.
see it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Long. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Regos. Any other questions from anyone on this? All right, good luck, guys, appreciate it. Any objection to unanimous roll? Okay, unanimous roll shall be attached. Next item.
Item 20, resolution by council members Abraham and El Sawafi authorizing the finance director to process the addition of 1 full-time custodian position and eliminate 8 part-time positions for the fiscal year 2024 budget of the Facility Administration Division and requesting immediate effect.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Since the Ford Community and Performing Arts has reopened from the COVID-19 pandemic, it has been difficult to hire part-time staff to support the center. Due to the struggle with the Parks Department is requesting to eliminate 8 part-time slots and make up for a budget of 2024 and include 1 full-time position with a budget impact of net zero to the 2024 budget as adopted. 1 full-time position for custodian. This is something that we've been asking for. We have many part-time people that we are reducing part-times down to full-time for better quality of service and continuity. And this is also acting as no additional cost to the taxpayers. So I do appreciate the budgetary aspect of it. Any questions or comments on this item? Okay, hearing and seeing none, unanimous roll shall be attached. Next item.
Item 21, resolution by council members Al Sawafi and Enos granting the request of the Friends for Animal Shelter at 16121 Reckinger Road to host a donation drive on Saturday, September 30th, 2023, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at various intersections throughout the city and requesting immediate effect.
All right, volunteers from the Friends of the Animal Shelter of Metro Detroit will be hosting a donation drive at various intersections throughout the city of Dearborn. The event will take place on Saturday, September 30th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Anyone who will donate will be given a Paul Print news article that features the work done by the Friends of the Animal Shelter. All proceeds from the donation drive will benefit the Friends of the Animal Shelter here in Dearborn. The group will adhere to all city ordinances, local laws as it relates to soliciting on city roads, and immediate effect is being requested. Any questions or comments on this item?
There's somebody from the shelter here.
Oh, we do, yep. Okay. Well, we do appreciate you coming and staying through the meeting. But this is something that happens throughout the city of Dearborn. Peanuts being sold, Rotary, get involved with these programs. They do a lot of work, volunteer work, great work for the city, and they're great partners that makes Dearborn what it is today. So we do appreciate it, and we will be on the street making sure we donate. Councilwoman Herrick.
Since we're on the subject of our beloved animal shelter, congratulations on a wonderful mutt strut this past weekend. I know a number of the council members were out to participate. In particular, I'd like to give kudos to our good sport council member, Gary Enos, who spent some time in the dunk tank.
That's right.
And paid the price for sitting and getting dunked in that cold water. So thank you to Councilman Enos for the opportunity to dunk you.
And you did.
And I did.
Did you get him?
Yeah.
All right. Councilman Pierce.
Just to comment on that too, not only did I get Gary Enos, but I got Silvio Davis too.
Oh.
It didn't take long, so thank you.
That's not bad, not bad. All for a good cause.
One other thing. I'll be on
Councilman
Pelham
Enos?
Drive this weekend doing the
Speaker.
papers for that paper drive.
Which speaker?
Maybe,
Speaker.
maybe Councilwoman Herrick as well. We'll be doing some of the papers, 9 to 1 this,
Where will you be at? What intersection?
Pelham and Outer Drive,
All right, Pelham and Outer Drive. All
9
right.
to 1.
9
Is
to
there an
1.
establishment near there?
All right, and again, immediate effect is being requested. Any objections to unanimous roll? Okay, hearing none, so is attached. Next item.
Item 22, resolution by council members Paris and Abraham granting the request of the Dearborn Police Officers Charities to conduct their Dearborn Police Officers Charity 5K Run for Mental Health Awareness on Sunday, October 8th, 2023, from approximately 7:50 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. with assistance from the Police Department for traffic and safety crowd control for the entire duration of the event, subject to reimbursement for city services and facilities and certain stipulations, and requesting immediate effect.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. The Dearborn Police Officers Charities is requesting the council to approve and conduct their Dearborn Police Officers Charity 5K Run for Mental Awareness on Sunday, October 8th at 2023 of this year. The race expects to attract 100 to 200 people with a minimal disruption to the neighborhoods within the designated run routes. The race begins at 8 a.m. on Monroe Street and Brady, entrance to Ford Field Park. Then we'll head south on Brady to the Rouge Gateway Trail through the University of Michigan, Fairlane Drive, and then back through northbound on Brady to the Monroe Street entrance back to Ford Field. In order to facilitate the movement of the vehicles and participation of foot traffic and to conduct the event safely in a manner, the police will have control of Brady Street and will need, and on the state approximately from 7 a.m. till 9:30. 7:50 a.m. till 9:30 a.m., so a small closure window there for that time frame. Any questions or comments on this item? Okay. Any objection to unanimous roll? Okay. Hearing none, so it should be attached. Next item.
Item 23, resolution by Council President Sereni, supported unanimously, offering condolences to the family of Hassan Salami and requesting immediate effect.
Okay, Hassan Salami passed away on September 19, 2023 at the young age of 29. He was a beloved son of Haj Mahmoud Salami and Haji Zainab Salami. He's the brother of Mohammed Lama Fatme and a fiancée of Zainab. Hassan and his family were the owners of Lama's Florist Shop in East Dearborn. They are the third-generation floral shop owners that began in Beirut, Lebanon, and continued here in Dearborn when his parents immigrated here. Hassan began working in his family's floral shop at a very young age and was able to expand his business through business after obtaining his business degree and focused most of his efforts on expanding his floral shop to the wedding industry. Hassan was also known as a hard worker that was very driven for his and supported his family significantly. Due to Hassan's business knowledge and management, he was a big part of the expansion of the family floral business here in Dearborn, and it's a success today that we are sure will continue. Hassan's friends and loved ones described him as a kind and honest person. He was known to be a hard worker, but also liked to enjoy his life with his family. And he also was known to be a very hard worker in business and with his family as well. Hassan's family describes him as the shining star of their family. He will be remembered by the Dearborn area of having a big heart, being a hard worker and a family man. Our community mourns the tragic loss of this young life, and to all we offer our heartfelt, sincere condolences to the family and his loved ones. And a unanimous roll will be attached. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
We have a walk-on item number 24, should be in the back of your packet.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-1799, an ordinance to amend the Police and Fire Revised Retirement System, Chapter 23 by adding Section 240.18 entitled Deferred Retirement Option Program, otherwise known as DROP, resolution in need of offer and support to take from the table for its final reading.
Offer. Support.
Okay, an offer by Councilman Hamud, supported by Councilman Paris. Okay, and this again was, Mr. Clerk, this is the issue with the publication, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a publication mishap which we require a second reading. We did have some conversation regarding this. So this is a program that allows appointees to continue working under state IRS guidelines and has been adopted since the early 80s in municipalities, so that someone would be able to retire, hold their pension in abeyance, and then remain employed through the city with no violations at all. So this program is called the DROP. This is the second and final reading, correct, Mr. Clerk?
Well, we've had a previous final reading, but it unfortunately was not posted in the paper. That's why we're coming back to it.
Right, so you need a final reading again, or no?
Correct.
Okay, so and then for my colleagues and Mr. Clerk, I know I had made mention to the clerk as well as to Mr. Mendelson, this has happened 2 or 3 times now. And the Dearborn Press and Guide is our official sponsor. So I've tasked official referral to the city legal department. It's happened too many times. I haven't had this happen I never had it happen in the last 8 years where publication has failed. Specifically, from the clerk has sent a memo which we received where they say you have to post this many items and one is missing. It's happened too often since the last year or two. So I'm gonna ask Mr. Mendelson to look into that so that we can send a letter to the newspaper if they cannot comply. There's also been some questions that they published on Sunday as opposed to Wednesday, and Wednesday's the paper that we receive here. So I would just like to look into that for the future because it's happened too many times. If the newspaper cannot fail, it's continued to fail to publish, it's a problem for us legally to conduct our business. So, Jackie, you have that down, and I know I talked to you, Mr. Mendelson, regarding that. All right, Mr. Clerk, can we have the final reading on this ordinance
Yes,
again?
this is the final reading of ordinance number 23-1799, an ordinance to amend the Police and Fire Revised Retirement System Chapter 23, by adding section 240.18 entitled Deferred Retirement Option Program, otherwise known as DROP.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we need a roll call vote.
Yes. Councilmember El Sawafi.
Yes.
Councilmember Herrick.
Yes.
Council President Sereni.
Yes.
Councilmember Enos.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamud.
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Paris.
Yes.
7 yeas, the ordinance passes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next item.
Nothing further from the clerk.
Okay, for the council, I'll start it off, just a couple small comments for myself. I'm a big proponent of life insurance and taking care of your family when you're not here. And I did receive something through the USAA about life insurance. There's acknowledgement of September being Life Insurance Awareness Month. So I just wanted to make sure that people are aware of that. It's very low cost. There's a lot of people out there you can get it from, websites, something to consider to protect your loved ones and for the future, but I did want to mention that. I did wanted to mention another item that, and I'm glad the chief is still here. Mr. Salami that I just mentioned in the condolences from the council and the tragic loss of life that we had. I want to thank the police department and the chief as well as the mayor regarding this. This is a serious event, folks. Me and the mayor were just at an event earlier where another person who's an elected official in another city said to us that he believed we did FBI work with a local police department to catch 3 people in this shooting incident. I personally have been supporting the police department. My brother is a decorated naval officer. I believe in following law and order, and from the time I took office, I have been consistent in my message. And that is that the government's job is to protect their people. And right now, it was really shook the community. When you have someone getting in his car around 9:30, finishing dinner, leaving home, and this tragic incident to happen, we cannot be everywhere, and we can't stop everything. But I can tell you what we can do and what we have done. And some people that have came to this council in the years past and complained, some of them that are actually elected officials not on this body, that said, why are you buying this equipment? Why are you buying these cameras? Why are you buying this safety and security? I want to make it very clear for myself as the council president. I will continue to push forward for the best technology that we can have for our officers. So people understand this. When we went out and asked to put, when we were asked by the administration and the council did oblige, and when I took office as the council president, I asked every one of my council members to go along with the ride-along so they can see what actually happens and what do these cameras do that catches people that steal cars. Folks, stealing cars is not just to get the parts. They steal the car to commit a crime. They don't use their dad's car or their uncle's car to commit a crime. They steal a car to commit a crime. And there's some people that came to this council chambers and complained about where the data is, where we're going to do with it, how we're going to use it. And I told them 2 years ago, and I will tell them today, we're going to keep the data as long as it takes to catch the bad guys. It's our job to make sure that our citizens are safe. And for what happened in that short of time, for the police chief, the mayor, and the work that the police department did to find and apprehend 3 people in this senseless murder is nothing short of outstanding work. And some people would say to me, well, you know, it's not going to bring the young man back. No, it will not. But it will bring closure. And it will let the residents know and the people know that if you commit a crime in the city of Dearborn, you will be prosecuted and you will be caught. So we had a lot of discussion today about people coming up and some people saying things about zoning and so on and so forth. When you go to the ballot box and go to vote for somebody, make sure you look at the record on criminals and safety and see if it's consistent or if it's wavering. It's very important, folks, because if there's one thing that we have to do for our residents, it's make sure that they feel safe and secure. And I can tell you that I can sleep very well knowing that our police chief, his crew, his team, and the mayor's foresight to put together the best technology that we were questioned about, these cameras that found these people and made sure that they are being faced, they will face justice, is what Dearborn is. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that from myself, and I'm sure my council members feel the same. I have been consistent on that from day one, and I will not waver on it. So, Chief, I want to thank you so much for your department's work. And Mayor, of course, the conversations we had throughout the evening when this was going on, I mean, people have read about this. It's been reported. I called each one of my council members. You know, this last perpetrator was caught at the airport on his way out of here. He was not caught by the TSA. He was caught by the Dearborn Police Department. And he was caught because of their work and because of the funding of this council and the direction of the mayor to make sure that we give them the tools. I never understood why people would come up here and complain to us. Why should the bad guys have the best tools and we can't have it? So I want to make that very clear to our residents. And Chief, thank you so much. And Mayor, thank you very much for the calls late at night, keeping us abreast of what's going on, because I know that we have no problem receiving the data when necessary, but for you to take the time during that crucial situation to let us know. And I called every one of my members to tell them what was going on. And I could hear the relief that we had 3 people, and 2 people, and then the third one caught as well. So I just wanted to make sure I made that statement. I'd like to open up to my council members after that. Councilman Paris.
I could just real briefly, just to add to what the council president is saying. You know what, I don't know all the particulars of what took place, and I don't think any of us really have all the facts. But I will tell you that I was a police officer in this city for over 27 years and a command officer. I can tell you, back from even before me in the 1970s when I started, and then until this present day, this department, police department, has always had the reputation of not holding back any resource and any personnel, anything that needs to be done to apprehend people for serious crime, especially when you're talking about homicide and people are seriously hurt. So I do commend I want to commend the people that are out there on the street, that are hitting the bricks and so on, because I'm going to tell you, I couldn't do their job today. What I experienced, you know, in law enforcement, there's no way that I could exist in my mindset today, even all the experience and the maturity that I had over the years, to do what they do out on the road today. So I commend them all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Pierce. Councilman El Swafi.
Thank you, Council President. As we go day to day, I just want to remind residents of the ongoing UAW strikes. I spent time on the assembly line working alongside UAW brothers and sisters, at the time Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, and in an administrative role, although. And strong unions are key to growing our economy and supporting the middle class. The auto workers helped create the middle class, and they deserve fair wages to continue sustaining the middle class. So I just want to remind residents that these strikes are still ongoing and to show their support where possible.
Thank you, Councilman El Swafi. Thank you very much for that reminder. Absolutely, we do support that. Councilman Hammoud.
Kind of to echo the sentiments of some of my colleagues, I think the work that the Dearborn Police Department, I'm not sure, you know, I heard some different stories from different officers of how much information they had. I think some of it was in jest, but I think there was definitely some very good work. And I did appreciate that ride along, Council President.
Well, you still have the record.
Yeah, 24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah, I think, and
27 years. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, well, yeah, 27 years is longer than a day. I think in terms of the technology, I do also, I want to temper a little bit of what you said. We are in complete compliance with state and federal laws in regards to data acquisition and retention, and we only keep it as long as we're allowed to by the state, which I did make sure of as one of my questions to legal when I went on that ride along. But to make it clear, I think people can see that this administration is in support of providing our officers with the resources that they need in order to go out and, ensure the public safety of our residents and of people even visiting or working within the city. So I do want to say thank you to the council, the mayor, and our police chief for making sure to actually act when we do give them all that equipment and to ensure that they have the proper training as well. I think that's also very important to stress is every day our senior officers are out there training our newer officers in a way that, they don't necessarily have to. And, that's one of those things that's unique to the level of professionalism that Dearborn Police has. Now to kind of switch gears a little bit, though, I do want to say I heard that we promoted a new deputy building official, John Galvin, who I've had the pleasure of working with, and I want to say congratulations to him. And I've heard a lot of positive interactions that he's had with residents, and I think this is one of those things where I really appreciate that there's that good work is being recognized within our ECD and many other departments. So I think you guys are going to probably see him or deal with him because I think building codes and residential complaints are a big one for us. I mean, even today, one of the big issues had to do with compliance with current zoning and I'm sure you all still get all kinds of building code questions and issues and people calling you, how big of a porch can I have and things like that. So I think having good building officials who actually understand what's going on and having good people oversee them is very, very important. And for the mayor, we're really still looking forward to that electronic permitting system.
We're getting there.
So, that's a big inshallah from us, and we did fund it, and I'm looking forward to seeing that actually happen. When's the? Okay, cool. Yeah, October. So are you going to announce that, or should I say it again?
Yeah, the mayor can announce it.
All
yeah.
right.
We'll get to that.
All right, thank you. That's all from me.
All right, Chief?
Council President, Issa Shaheen, Chief of Police. I just wanted to take a moment, and I thank you for all those kind words and everybody on the council. I want to give my sincere condolences to the Salome family. I hope God gives them the strength to heal from this tragic incident. From the moment it happened, I want to assure this community that we've been working around the clock, nonstop. And Councilman Paris, to your point, whatever it took to get these individuals into custody, nothing stood in the way of that. We are a well-equipped, well-trained, and well-staffed police department. And I can assure you, if you commit a crime in this community, you will be found and you will pay. So I'm very grateful to lead this police department, but also I have to give a lot of credit to the officers, right? I just kind of get out of the way and let these guys do the job that they need to do. And I'm very proud of the work that they've done to bring some justice for this family. So thank you for all those words.
Of course, Chief, thank you very much. We do appreciate your work. Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. I want to extend condolences to the uncle of Councilman Robert Abraham, who is his namesake. I attended the funeral service, and shortly after, when I was talking with my mother, I brought up Robert's uncle, and my mom informed me that at a very low point in my family's life, when we had financial struggles, it was actually Councilman Abraham's uncle who stepped forward and helped out my family to keep us in the house that we were in. And so it was like a full circle moment to be back in that moment and to finally put a face, obviously too late, but to the name that I knew as a child of who stepped forward to help out my family. And so just want to take that moment to thank him. Hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants his family patience and just express those condolences. Second.
Yeah, if I may, Mayor, on that point. I was able to attend the services and see Councilman Abraham. I wanted to wait for him to be ready to provide some closure on his uncle, but I can tell you, I went to school with his kids. I used to cut his grass and on Oakman, and I can tell you one thing, he was a tremendous man. And not to date everybody, when you go back in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't that easy just to go up and say, I want to buy a house. It didn't work like that. There was no doc information and stuff like that. And Sai is the nickname. Abraham was very well known to extend and help people get their first homes in the United States of America. And he was a great man and is known all over. Just, you could see by the funeral services and the time, and I know it wasn't the time, but since the mayor brought it up, I wanted to just show my condolences. I did attend the services and seen Councilman Abraham there. It's tough when you lose somebody, especially somebody that, you got to remember, helps bring people into the country and helps them start a life that they didn't have. I mean, these are really, really things. I always tell my children, you know, are they going to be asking about you 15, 20 years from now when you pass? They will be asking about Cy Abraham 20 years from now because of the stuff that he did in the community, the city of Dearborn, and the people that he helped, and the amount of people that he reached. So I just, for myself, want to give the condolences to the Abraham family.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, I apologize.
No,
I wanted to just add on that part.
No. Secondly, to extend my condolences to Bed Saleme. It's random acts of violence. It's an atrocity that occurred, and nothing that I say will, I think, bring more peace to the family. It's a struggle that they will have for the rest of their lives. But I want to give all the credit in the world. I think I saw a lot of credit come into administration, Mayor. Honestly, I did nothing but communicate with the person who I appointed to be in charge, Police Chief Faisal Shaheen. And to his credit, to the leadership team that he's built across the whole department. And I think, as has been echoed by council, you know, we do our best to ensure that they have the best training and the latest of resources to ensure that they can conduct their service as best as they can. And that's the commitment and the promise that we make to these residents, and the commitment and the promise we'll continue to make as we continually move forward. So thank you to all involved in bringing some of those perpetrators to justice, and we'll be sure to follow the whole thing through. I think to the point of Councilman Hamuda stepped out, the Builders Expo is on October 9th. We've invited many of the business community, architects, contractors, builders, to come meet with our ED team, our engineering team, our inspection team. They're going to get a preview of what the online residential permitting platform will look like when it rolls out, just to kind of get feedback from their perspective about what they're seeing. And so it'll be a great opportunity to connect and obviously meet some of the new team leads across the division. And so anybody that's welcome, it's open and free to the public. I think the details have been posted on social media, so I won't speak to them as I'll probably get them wrong. But I think that's all I had.
Thank you, Mayor. Anything from Mr. Clerk?
No, thank you. We're all set.
All right. So now we will entertain the second public. Oh, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
I went to the mayor. thought
I
you
know.
didn't need it.
No,
Yeah,
no.
Councilwoman Herrick, I apologize.
Just something real quick, thank you. I think Jack Tate is here, the folks from the museum are here, so I think I'll be speaking about the event on Friday night. Okay, so he'll be coming up in a moment. I just wanted to let folks know that Rotary Club of Dearborn, which is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year, is holding a cleanup on Telegraph Road. This is something that we do once a quarter or so. And public is welcome to join us at 8:30 a.m. at Bryant Middle School parking lot at 8:30. And we will be happy to have you help us. We have bags and we have some equipment, but if you want to join us and bring some gloves and come on out, it's a nice way to meet some new folks and do a good deed for the city, cleaning up the median on Telegraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Herrick. All right, so now we will open the second public comment. Mr. Tate. So anyone wanting to address the council, if you don't fill out a card, that's fine. You could step up to the podium and we will allow you to address the council. But just keep in mind, Conley, there's a 3-minute time
Council
limit.
President, members
Not
of
for you.
council, Mayor, Jack Tate, curator of Dearborn Historical Museum. And this Friday, remind everybody, we have a very big event coming up. Our 10th annual party at the museum. It's called Booze, like at Halloween, and Brews as in beer. And we also have some new effects this year. We have a 6-hole putt-putt golf course we're adding, as well as the other amenities that we had, and I'll turn that over to Matt Graft, our Assistant Chief Curator.
Yep, I'm Assistant Curator at the museum, and as Jack said, the golf course will be glow-in-the-dark for the nighttime. We'll have a DJ photo booth. There will also be a silent auction. Lots of local businesses and community members have donated prizes for the silent auction. And in addition to that, I just want to add to the mayor's comment, the museum will also have a booth at the Building Expo. We'll have a lot of the original artifacts that built Dearborn, original brick molds, bricks from Clippert Dort, Wagner Brick Companies. So if you're interested in any of that, we'll have a booth there as well. And I also just wanted to finally thank the council members and the mayor for donating their coins recently, commemorative coins for the museum's artifact collection. Just wanted to also remind other residents, if you have anything that belongs to your local business, or if you served in city government, or even if it's just an old family photo or an old toy you had as a kid, that it means something to you or your family, consider donating it to the Dearborn Historic Museum, because that's why we have a museum, to showcase these artifacts that make up the fabric of the city of Dearborn.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate that. I could tell you, myself and Councilman Abraham had brought a good point when we were taking our council photo, and my members understand that what we did is I went back to Jack Tate and found out how many councils there were to name us the 34th council and continue that in the future. Then Councilman Abraham said, why don't we see if we can get some of these photos? And we went right to Jack. And hopefully there's a project we're working on, right, Jackie? And we hope to bring those to our council chambers to highlight the people that have served the city all the way back to when it was called Fortson. Is that right, Jack?
Before that, Spring Wells.
Before that, Spring Wells. See, you got me. That's a good one.
And
I
can
wanted
I
to make
add
sure.
one more thing?
Of course.
A little bit out of it, but any World War II or Korean War veterans out there, if you haven't been in to get interviewed, please contact us at the museum, 565-3000. We'd love to interview you and put your personal history from those wars into our archives. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Excuse me.
Anyone else from the council, would like to speak to the council? Please step forward to state your name and address for the record.
Sana Yun, public activist. When you guys tell me about police, it's understandable that police apprehended 3 suspects. But I've been a victim of police harassment. I got proof of it. The mayor has called several people, because several people have called the mayor and told them that I said something about them on Facebook, favoritism. Then next thing you know, they get a call on the phone, and a guy makes the police report on the phone. Now, is that justice? No, it's not justice. Do we have a corrupt system? Yes, we do have a corrupt system. First of all, God rest that guy's soul, I had to call the news, then you guys put out a statement. People call me and say, hey, how come the mayor doesn't put out a statement? Why didn't the chief do a press conference? Why didn't he do a press conference? He didn't want it to go public. But when I called Channel 4, Channel 2, Channel 7, and I got proof of it, I'll be putting in the record next time when I come. It's not funny. This is something that's happening, and thank God they have body cams, because the police could have been arresting me every day. My body cam is always on when I come to Dearborn, and I stay in Dearborn, and I will not let no police officer harass me, because once they harass me, everything's on tape. In my car, I have a switch. It switches over when somebody pulls me over. Right away, I switch it on. Why? I don't need no police officer to harass me. I'm tired of it. When you guys say justice, there's no justice. The guy passed away. You guys, the borders, you guys stop people. The borders are not protected. The mayor even said it. We stopped controlling the borders because we don't want to pull over black people. It doesn't matter. Black people, white people, Lebanese people should pay the price. Nobody has ever been killed at a restaurant with him and his wife. Nobody. That's a tragedy. I'm 42 years old. It's never happened. Never in my whole entire life. And you guys are sitting here. You're always mute. Mute system. You guys need to be replaced. Retire. Go home. We need people to help us. We don't need people sit there, have condolences, and then next thing you know, the borders are not protected? What, you gonna go, I go outside, you guys arrest me? You guys harass me? There's proof. I'll put it all in the record when I come next time. You telling me that I come here to agitate you? I don't come here to agitate you. I'm allowed to come here. I'm allowed to speak.
You have 30 seconds.
Because I'm not gonna let the body be mute no more. You're gonna listen to it every time I'm gonna come here and address the board.
All right, anyone else here would like to speak to the council regarding city business? Okay, if none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion adjourned by Councilwoman Herrick. We are adjourned.